It was a dark and quiet night. Suddenly there was a knock at the door. Two men were standing at the door of the house. One man supported another who was barely standing. He screamed desperately, "Is anyone home?" but begging to let them in. The man despaired. He decided that there was no one in the house. At this time, a few meters from the house, there was someone displeased watching this scene. After all, something like this has been happening for 3 months. It was the owner of the house, a young girl with long silver hair and violet eyes. Tall, slender, with a well-toned body. She wondered what kind of crazy person had visited this time. At least 2 or 3 ridiculous things always happen in life. And a perfect example of such absurdity is the fact that this world is a novel, and also the fact that she was reincarnated in the world of this novel. But it did not discourage her. She was able to get used to the new world quite quickly. But now everything was not so simple in her life. The girl kept looking at the 2 men who were already sitting on the ground in front of the door of her house, and it started to make her quite angry. Her neighbor Andrew appeared next to the girl and asked if she went on a business trip again. She replied that she had really traveled a long way. Then the neighbor asked, "What bill is this visitor?" And the girl sighed with displeasure that she had just returned, and she angrily replied that it was already the 6th. This incident happened 2 years ago. It all started when someone collapsed in front of the girl's house. It was a stranger who fainted. Therefore, she simply provided first aid. But then the unknown girl recovered very quickly, which gave the impression that she was not even sick. After that, there were rumors, and the sick began to gather under the girl's house. Fortunately, after her self-isolation, people began to come much less. The girl was furious because it was interfering with her business, and her profession will not be a healer. She is Syrinx, a jeweler by profession. Her shop is located in the western part of the city, Crixus, which is the largest city of the empire. The city is divided into 5 districts, and she is located in the first. It is filled with lots of gambling and auction markets. She is an illegal jeweler who makes good money in this dirty area. Andrew suggested that the girl change her profession to a healer so she can earn a lot of money. Syrinx irritably replied that Andrew had lost his mind. After all, she cannot do this without a license. If she is caught, she will be executed. In this world, there are special powers such as magic, alchemy, divine power, and spirits. People who heal others are healers, and the girl is one of them. All people who have special power are registered in the temple, but in order to practice the profession, you need to get a license. It is illegal to treat without a license. In case of violation of this rule, you will be punished by the temple, namely the dog of the temple, Marquis Forsetti. Standard torture is amputation of 1 or 2 limbs, and then someone gets their head chopped off. The girl replied to the neighbor that she would never do such a thing, that she likes her current job. And she thought to herself that she already had a business to attend to. Andrew just smiled, showing that he didn't mind. He then directed Syrinx's attention to the 2 men still sitting outside her door, noting that they still needed her help. The girl, without particular joy, nevertheless agreed, and Andrew will shout with joy that he did not doubt her. But he praised her. Shocked, Syrinx tried to stop his noise, but it was too late. One of the men sitting at the door of her house noticed them. Andrew told the girl even louder that he had completely forgotten about his work, and it was time for him. He said goodbye and dozed off. Syrinx understood that he did it on purpose, so she became even more angry. At this time, one of the men who was waiting under the house was already running to her. Running closer, the man said hello and asked if she was the owner of the house. The girl confirmed and asked what was the matter. The man introduced himself as Naunam. Syrinx knew that Naunam was a nickname people used when they didn't want to reveal their identity on the street. The girl treated this with suspicion. She didn't know why the man decided to use this nickname. Nuname then said that he would leave the care of the other honourable to her, pointing to the second man lying under the door of the house. After these words, Syrinx imagined him as a bartender offering her an indecent proposal from another gentleman. How shameless! If someone heard them, they could really decide that she provides such services. All the people she healed were respectable people, but who this man was, she didn't know. And while the girl was thinking, Nunam apologized and dozed off. Syrinx, shocked by such behavior, tried to stop him, but it was too late. She thought that if this man disappeared so quickly and without a trace, he must be an influential person. It seemed that she should not contact them. And then Sirink just flared up with anger. She did not understand why she had to take care of her husband as a patient. And in general, her house is not some shelter. Having calmed down, the girl sighed from helplessness with a swear word and ran towards the house. Coming closer, she saw a deep, bloody wound on the man's chest. The girl looked more closely. The girl sat down next to the man who was still lying by the door. She looked at him and couldn't figure out how she could pick him up and carry him by herself. She was angry that at the right moment, Andrew ran away. Syrinx lit the lantern she had brought with her and examined the man's wound more closely. He was indeed seriously injured. She wondered what happened. Then she moved her gaze to the man's face, and how he jumped in surprise. She was shocked because it was a young and handsome boy with golden hair. The girl recognized him. It was Heimdall Vespergo, the son of the Vespergo family, which was once known for its power, but at one point he lost everything. He is one of the main characters of the novel and the antagonist. Syrinx looked at the boy without looking away, and then the boy opened his eyes. He began to whisper something, but the girl could not understand exactly what he was saying. She leaned closer to the boy to hear the words. Suddenly he reached out to grab her hand. Syrinx was frightened, so much so that she jumped back and stepped on the hand that reached out to her. The boy turned his gaze to the girl, and she, in turn, only exclaimed that he was allowing himself to do this. Heimdall, being injured and beaten in response, only smiled. It really was like a scene from a novel. The wounded boy was lying on the ground and smiling at the girl who was sitting next to him, stepping on his hand. This novel was quite unusual, since the first and second parts of the novel had different main characters and their genres differed. The first part told about the main character and her harem, but then she gets into trouble and dies. In the second part, the main character is the cousin of the previous main character. At first, she misses her sister. Then another storyline suddenly begins, where the heroine falls in love with different men, and their relationships with all physical contact are described there. Because of this, the book was rated 18+. Heimdall Vespergo is the only man who did not have a relationship with the main character of the second part of the novel. On the contrary, he hated her. The death of the main character was the only reason he continued to live. Hatred for each other passed from generation to generation. The main character's parents kidnapped the Vespergo brothers. In this way, they wanted to avenge their ancestors. As a result, it all ended with one of the brothers being killed. After that, Heimdall was sold to the slave market, where he was later bought. Heimdall saw a lot of cruelty in his childhood. This boy is so broken that he eventually grows up to become the embodiment of revenge. And the main object of revenge, after all, is the main character, Frey. He's a stable and extremely intelligent man. He tortured the main character without any mercy. That's why he was the main antagonist. And right now, before the eyes of Syrinx, the same antagonist was lying. He still looked at the girl. Syrinx became a little helpless. Does she not understand what kind of expression he has on his face? This expression is usually made before killing someone. And then the boy lost consciousness. The girl was finally able to relax because her heart almost skipped a beat from the tension. Syrinx understood that given what was told in the novel, it was better not to contact this boy. But why did he come to her? She snarled angrily as she remembered the face of the scoundrel who had brought this boy here. The girl suggested that the man who had abandoned Heimdall here might be his mentor. She noted that the boy was very handsome, but she also thought that the man might be one of the 5 local feudal lords who ruled the area. Syrinx understood that the mentor, that Heimdall, both were a problem as they were acquainted with very bad people. It is not for nothing that he is the main antagonist. Oh, his appearance only confused the girl. She decided to leave him on the street. But being angry with herself, she could not just leave him like that and threw something in the boy's direction. A warm blanket covered Heimdall's body. The girl knew that it was better not to cross paths with this man at night. Entering her house, Syrinx turned to the boy and said that she had already given first aid to such a handsome scoundrel, and in the morning she would see what to do with him. It was a beautiful sunny morning. Andrew looked tired and was massaging his pulled shoulder. Syrinx was again in a bad mood and angry. Together, they finally carried Heimdall's body into the girl's house and laid him on the bed in the hall. Andrew was a little puzzled, because it was the first time in his life that he had seen a person bigger and heavier than their merchant. Syrinx sat down on the chair next to the bed and tied back her falling hair. She looked intently at the boy. It seems he was still alive. Here she was called by Andrew. He decided to snack on sandwiches and asked the girl if the people she saved before were all influential people. With a touch of humor, he added that she could close up shop. Just pick any one of them and marry. Without letting him finish, Syrinx informed him that they were all women. She enthusiastically told that the head of the Assassin's Guild, an evil merchant, an aristocrat who kidnapped people from the auction hall, a knight who turned a blind eye to crimes, a creepy black sorceress. That's who she came across. And then she added sarcastically that, unfortunately, they all like handsome men. Andrew didn't expect this, so he tried to make an excuse that they should all still be grateful to her for saving him. Syrinx explained that he had better not tell anyone about this, otherwise they would not live long. Hearing this, Andrew snorted a little. Then the neighbor cheerfully noticed that nevertheless she finally had a male patient. So she can try. The girl asked why he was so enthusiastic. He called Syrinx again. The girl turned to him and asked in an irritated voice what he wanted this time. Andrew was already standing at the threshold of the back entrance of the house and with a smile asked the girl to be careful. After all, it was a man. Syrinx smiled back. It was an unspoken rule between him and Andrew not to interfere even if you were worried, because you never know who and when can kill you. With a slight smile on her face, Syrinx thanked her neighbor for his concern. The girl turned to her patient and looked at him intently. She thought, in order to heal the boy, first you need to take off your clothes and suddenly he has a knife somewhere and he will attack her with it? At that moment, the boy exhaled. Syrinx was frightened. He began to regain consciousness and asked for his glasses. She found them and gave them to him. Putting on his glasses, the boy got up from the bed. In his languid and confused voice, he apologized and asked who she was. For Syrinx, it was an incredibly beautiful scene, a wounded beauty among a sea of flowers. She tried to be nice, so she replied with a smile that yesterday he passed out near her house and she saved him. The guy suddenly grabbed the girl by the shoulders and screamed. Did he suddenly not do anything strange? Syrinx was surprised. She said that nothing happened, that she herself was so tired yesterday that she decided to leave him near the house. The girl apologized, but she would not have been able to carry him home by herself. She added that it hurts a little from such an onslaught. The guy jumped away from her as if scolded and, grabbing the blush, started apologizing. Sitting on the bed, he will explain that he is still not himself. And with sadness in his voice, he told that every night he becomes very strange. And once again, begged the girl. Syrinx asked with a calm voice and a smile if she could heal him. The guy was surprised, and the girl explained that she gave him first aid. But it is impossible to leave the wound in such a state. That can get infected. And he agreed. Still with the same smile, Syrinx asked him to undress. The guy shyly exclaimed, "Should I?" Then the girl asked again if he wanted her to heal him. Embarrassed, the boy thought, and then silently began to take off his shirt. Syrinx noted about herself that now the boy listens to her every word, and to top it all, he has a good character and appearance, like the typical protagonist that he is. She watched the process of exposure with delight, but she did not show any appearance and remained calm. Syrinx was also known to give Heimdall a nickname by readers because he behaved like an innocent lamb by day and a ruthless wolf by night. That is why he got the nickname Jekyll and Hyde. Taking off his shirt, the boy exposed his body with a deep wound on his chest. Syrinx understood that such a nickname for the boy was not chosen by chance, because in other words, Heimdall had a split personality. This was the reason Syrinx tried to stay away from Heimdall, that his dark side always awoke at night. He changed so much that even the color of his eyes became different. The girl thought about all this in her mind. When Heimdall took his shirt off, did she drink, or could she examine him? The next moment, Syrinx was assessing how well she had bandaged the boy's wound. And Heimdall sat meekly with his hands raised, and at the same time, she took a good look at his beautiful and toned body. There is a temptation in my head to touch, but here the boy apologized. Bewildered, he asked if she was examining him too closely. Syrinx looked up at Heimdall. She did not immediately understand what he meant, And then with a sly look, she asked if this is not quite normal for a doctor and his patient. Heimdall was ashamed and, lowering his eyes, apologized to Syrinx for the fact that for a second the wrong thoughts came into his head. The girl laughed sweetly in response, but in her mind she wondered what the boy thought about. One way or another, blue eyes, the color of precious stones, in his gaze, a lot of unexplored like the sea, the image of a person who was embarrassed and restrained himself. This is the description of the bright Heimdall from the novel. This innocent beauty attracted people, but at night a different personality woke up, and all the innocence of the same moment disappeared. These thoughts still did not leave Syrinx. She turned to the boy with a request to do something. Heimdall asked what exactly she wanted. And the girl will tell you that she wants to touch him. The boy was covered in red paint. He did not expect this. He began to deny with passion, and Syrinx explained that she can heal people only through touch. Therefore, she wanted to warn him in advance. Here, all red, the boy is beckoning, and then he felt even more ashamed. And he begged Syrinx again. He said that he was not used to communicating with the opposite sex, so he continued to make mistakes. And while he sat on the bed and covered his face with his palms out of shame, Syrinx lowered his hand in the end. She got a precious stone from there. The girl reassured Heimdall that everything was fine and then apologized. She warned that he would have to be a little patient. The boy froze. He asked with trepidation what she meant, and Syrinx asked him to cry with a smile. The girl explained that during their conversation, she noticed that he has a whiny personality. The guy looked away again, embarrassed, and asked her not to make fun of him. She agreed. Syrinx then brought her closed palms up to Heimdall's body. She concentrated and took a deep breath. At the same moment, the stone in her hands flashed with a bright light. The wound on Heimdall's body slowly began to heal. The boy looked fascinated at the soft light coming from the girl's hands. He was completely calm. When Syrinx finished, the wound was completely closed. Heimdall was amazed, and the girl imperceptibly hid the stone in her palm. The girl exhaled. She was a little tired from the treatment. The guy looked at her and asked if she was a healer. Syrinx answered honestly that she is not a healer, but does it illegally. Heimdall was surprised. The girl asked him not to tell anyone about it. She sat hiding behind her back the same precious stone that had turned black. Syrinx noted that since the wounds were deep, it took a lot of mana. She noted that all illegals face the death penalty, and she does not want to die in agony. And she emphasized that the temple also punishes those who were treated. Such people have their tongues cut out. She told this on purpose so that the boy would not babble too much, otherwise his tongue would be shortened. Heimdall asked, speaking of the temple, "Does the girl mean the altar of discipline?" He knows about their severe punishments, so he has no intention of telling anyone about this incident. Syrinx added that he must not tell Marquis Forseti about it either. Heimdall definitely agreed, nodding his head. Then the girl got up and warned the boy that she wanted to examine his back. Looking at him, she thought that the ability to heal people is a precious gift, and in this world, the same opinion about it. Altar of Discipline is the most influential temple in this world. He represented a group of priests who fight against violation of the rules. And the head of this temple is the family of Marquis Forseti. The head of the family is the paladin Juvan Forseti, who was nicknamed a hero in the Empire. As for Juvan Forseti himself, his obsession with the main character of the first part of the novel spilled over to the main character of the second part, and Freya's healing abilities contributed to this. After the death of the first main character, the second one gained a powerful healing power. In other words, the healing power aroused the interest of men. But Syrinx was not very happy with such power. She healed people by extracting magic from precious stones. This healing method was very rare, so if she was caught, the temple would punish her severely. But the girl was very happy that she was in such an area where it was difficult for the temple to find her. Syrinx, having finished the examination, patted Heimdall on the back and said that everything was ready. And while the boy was getting dressed, Syrinx decided in her mind that as long as no one came for her, she would do what she was doing. Although she was interested in following the events of the novel, she understands that it is better not to get involved. Syrinx asked if nothing else bothered the boy. He replied that everything is fine, and just as he wanted to thank her, the girl interrupted him. With a benevolent smile, she said that if everything is okay, Then he can go, and pointed the boy to the exit. Heimdall was confused. He said that first he had to thank her somehow. Syrinx, with the same smile, replied that it was not worth it, and began to escort the boy out of the house. He wanted to say goodbye. And the girl answered again that he should do it while standing outside. And as soon as she was able to push Heimdall out the door, she said goodbye and closed the door behind him. Standing outside the door, Syrinx breathed a sigh of relief. The girl was happy that it was finally over, but she only thought so. A few days later, she met Heimdall again. More importantly, this time it was in the dead of night. With red eyes and the look of a killer on his face, he gave a creepy smile and said hello. Unfortunately, the second meeting with Heimdall also took place in the middle of the night. That day, Syrinx was returning home from a very difficult business trip. In her mind, she argued with the damned nobles who did not want to listen to her. Walking down the dark street, someone called her name. She was surprised. A man came out to meet. He said that he has been waiting for her for a long time. But with a sly smile, he added, the girl had recently earned some pennies. Syrinx tensed. She knew this man. He looked like a catfish, and his name was Torture. Once he wanted to deceive a girl, but he did not succeed. And now he wanted to take revenge. In addition, this man was the head of a guild of assassins called Blessings of Darkness. The man came closer. He asked if the girl could hear him at all, because Syrinx looked a little confused. He then muttered something like, how could she make such a brazen expression in front of a man? And that it is disgusting. This is where Syrinx missed the hint. Putting her hand in her pocket, she asked her husband if he was tired of coming to her. In her mind, the girl told herself that she no longer wanted to leave her house. Here Torture came almost to the shelter and with a narcissistic smile announced that the girl might not count on her bodyguard today. He knew that he would not be there because today is Friday in the middle of the month. Syrinx understood that this was true. Today, the knight was not patrolling the area, but was drinking in a bar, which meant that Torture specially waited for this day. The girl tightly gripped the red precious stone in her hand. In a calm voice, Syrinx replied that she hadn't even considered hoping for a guard. And then with a haughty smile, she added that she only thought about how brainless and ugly he was. Syrinx went on to say that he was really nothing, not from the eyes, not from the shoulders. Torture got angry. He started yelling that bitches like her are only obedient when their faces are painted with beatings. The girl, with an indifferent expression on her face, simply replied that she would not be offended by such speeches. And then she leaned towards Torch and, showing the level of his height, began to mock that he was shorter than her and generally so small. This affected the man very much. Syrinx continued to mock, adding that his brain must have been small too. And then Torch rushed to the girl, stretched out his hand trying to grab her breasts. Just as Syrinx managed to pull her hand out of her pocket, suddenly, someone jumped out from behind her and knocked Torch's hand away with a strong blow. An ominous voice was heard, wondering what was happening here at such a late hour. Syrinx turned her head and cursed. Heimdall was standing next to him. The girl could not understand what he was doing here. After saying who he was, Torch rushed to the boy and started swinging his fists. Heimdall easily turned away, put a footstool on Torch, and he fell. Then Heimdall demonstratively took out a knife, and with the words that Torch should not know who he is, threw the knife. Yes, so that he got stuck in the cobblestones between Torch's fingers, having only slightly scratched him. The man was horrified. Heimdall then straightened his hair and turned to Syrinx. He looked at her and said hello. Syrinx was confused. Taking off his glasses, he approached the girl, saying that she seemed to know him. Heimdall leaned close to Syrinx and, looking into her eyes, said that if she knew him, then she should know why he came to this alley. If she tells how everything happened, then he won't kill her. Syrinx looked down. She understood that the situation was dangerous. Instead of innocent blue eyes, unfamiliar red ones were now looking at her. The girl kept herself in her hands, although there was only one thing on her mind. She was stuck. She remembered a passage from the novel where Heimdall told Freya that even if she gave him everything he could, he wouldn't take it. All he needs is a slit throat. That's what he is, Heimdall of the Night, who only does crazy things. The boy looked intently at Syrinx, who kept her eyes on him. He noticed that the girl was silent for a long time and repeated that it was better to do what he said. Then the boy added that she should not even try to lie to him, and Syrinx kept a precious red stone in her fist. With a haughty look, Heimdall remarked that it was strange, but he was sure she knew him for sure. But for some reason, he himself cannot remember. And the next moment, the boy took out a second knife. Syrinx saw the knife and jumped away from it. But then a whistle was heard. Something flew into Heimdall's back. Heimdall turned sharply and knocked the knife away with his hand. It was Torch. A subordinate rushed to his aid and helped Torch to his feet. The man did not miss a chance and threw away the knife. He growled that he would not allow himself to be humiliated, and shouted that it's all fucking Syrinx! The girl was stunned. Torch kept shouting that he would not do this to her, and the girl kept asking, why her? That it was that guy who hit him, that she was here for nothing. And the man continued his, as if it was she who brought the boy here, that she charmed him and made him hit her. Syrinx was amazed that Torch had come to such nonsense. The man then warned her that she would regret offending one of the members of the Blessed Darkness. The girl tried to clarify the situation, and speaking frankly, she didn't do anything to him. And in general, even if he himself asks, she will not touch him. And then, with a bright smile, she pointed her finger at Torch and added that it was all because he was ugly. Heimdall watched as the girl steadfastly endured all the attacks, and as a result, she even made fun of the attacker. This also amused him, and Syrinx kept making fun of Torch. The girl explained that she is an aesthete. She likes handsome men because the character is reflected in the appearance. That's why she will never choose him. Therefore, he can get away. Torch is crazy. He shouted so that the girl would finally shut up, and Syrinx added, is he aware that his people are also saying such things about him? The subordinate who had been supporting Torch all this time was in shock, and Torch himself was unmoved. Still laughing, the girl said that people say that his pika and his nature are all ugly. Torch was enraged by what he heard. He rushed to Syrinx again, but was stopped by a subordinate. He said that it was time for them, that it would soon begin to dawn. Syrinx picked up that it's really time for both of them, especially while they can go on their own. And then she slyly looked at him and asked, doesn't he want good luck this time? Torchu felt uneasy. He stopped for a few seconds. Then, pulling himself together, he threatened that the girl would not think that she could be rude to him forever. That one day, he will paint her face and send it for sale in the 5th district. And Syrinx answered him in a hurry that he should take care to live to this moment. Torch was still swearing at the girl as he walked away. They went. Syrinx breathed a sigh of relief. She still kept her hand in her pocket. And then she was called out. The girl turned around. Satisfied, Heimdall said with a smile on his face that she turns out to be a cold-blooded girl. Syrinx accepted the rack and took her hand out of her pocket. She clenched her fist tightly. The girl understood that there was no one around them, that they were left alone. And even if someone hears the screams, no one will intervene. Heimdall, pointing a knife at the girl, said that before asking her name, he would like to know what is the relationship between her and that man. Syrinx replied that when they first met, he tried to rob her. Heimdall continued to speculate that this was why the man had failed. And the boy raised the knife to the girl's face. Looking at the boy, she replied in a calm voice that, in short, that's how it was. Syrinx looked down at the knife and thought that Heimdall could actually kill her easily. And the boy approached the shelter, was satisfied with the answer, and ordered her to continue to answer like that. Then he leaned down and whispered in her ear, why does she keep avoiding answering? He wants her to tell him everything. Syrinx, holding herself in her hands, answered us just as calmly. She asked what exactly he was interested in. At the same time, she kept holding the stone in her hand. And the guy replied that he wanted to know how she knew him. He lives on the run and rarely sees anyone. So how can she know him? Heimdall suggested that they come in and talk because they were going to have a long conversation. They went into the house and sat opposite, not far from each other. Syrinx said that she saved him. The girl understood that she had interfered in her business when she cured him. Now she was worried if he would get mad at her for it. Often everyone treated the girl carelessly because of her appearance. Not this time. Heimdall was meticulous. He immediately tied the girl's hands as soon as they entered the house. Heimdall was smiling. Now he understood what had happened and why he was able to recover so quickly from the attack, and he noted that it was all her fault. Syrinx replied that usually people call it a help, not a fault. And the guy explained that he is one of those people who like to get hurt. The girl remembered. That man made Heimdall an ideal thief, because of which he lost power and found himself in poverty. She assumed it was about the boy's mentor. She was surprised that Heimdall was still alive after everything. Syrinx asked the boy, since she told him everything, shouldn't she have been let go? And then, with a carefree smile, she added that he might not even thank her for the treatment. Heimdall watched Syrinx with interest. He said that she was not one to be easily confused, and even in such a situation, she remained unmoved. The girl explained that this is the norm for life here, and she began to list kidnapping, extortion, hooliganism. All the people who lived here faced something like this more than once. Syrinx thought that since she already knew about his inferiority, there was nothing to be surprised about. The girl held out her bound hands to the boy. She complained that her hands already hurt, so she asked them to untie her. Heimdall kept looking at her and noted that she spoke quite calmly. And then he looked at the girl with his red eyes and asked, "Is it not because she is sure that she will not die?" The guy got up. Syrinx was startled by this. She continued to keep her eyes on the boy. And he said that he woke up a few days ago and there was an unfamiliar address on the table in his room. Heimdall came close to the girls and added that he is a very curious person. Syrinx thought that the boy was quite clever regardless of whether it was day or night. But during the day, he does not make unnecessary movements because he does not have confidence in his actions. Heimdall personalities do not remember each other's memories. Daytime Heimdall does not remember what happened at night, and nighttime Heimdall does not remember what happened during the day. When one personality awakens and something he doesn't know happens, Heimdall becomes very sensitive. Nocturnal Heimdall is generally very obsessed with wanting to know what happened while he slept, and it was very bad for Syrinx. She returned home only today. Heimdall probably wanted to meet her during the day, but was unable to do so because of her departure. But the wrong Heimdall came. Probably Nocturnal Heimdall himself decided to visit her. But why? He had a clear interest in the girl. But what exactly interested him? Syrinx still couldn't figure out why he didn't kill her right away, but put on this show? And then Heimdall rolled up his sleeves and said that he thought she was an illegal healer. The girl did not expect this. She rushed to the boy shouting for him not to do this and to stop. But it was too late. Heimdall cut his hand with a knife. And still with the same calm look and smile, he asked if she could cure something like this. Syrinx was not at ease. About herself, she noted that the guy's a real psycho. She decided that this was how Heimdall wanted her to prove his point. But why is it so important to him that she prove them? The girl had nowhere to go. She could get up with her hands tied and kneel down. And she warned that her services are expensive. And Heimdall asked, why then did she help someone like him? Syrinx replied that he had not behaved like that time. Heimdall asked if he had told her anything yet. The girl confirmed that he warned that he behaved strangely at night. Heimdall smiled and said that it was true. Syrinx touched the boy's arm to examine the wound. She felt embarrassed. After all, despite the fact that she heals people, she really didn't like the look of blood. A few seconds later, the room was illuminated by a warm blue light coming from Syrinx's hands. The girl was serious, so she made every effort. Heimdall was delighted. After all, she actually cured him. Then he wondered how she managed it. Syrinx looked at him with displeasure. She is already tired of it. She thought that it was time for the boy to let her go and go home. Heimdall approached the girl, bent down and apologized to her for scaring her. And then, getting very close, he continued that he was very interested. After all, she was the first person who sat calmly when she was threatened like this. Syrinx sarcastically replied that everything happens at first. Heimdall added that she is the first to say something like that. And then he assumed that it must be because he killed others immediately. Then, looking into Syrinx's eyes, he asked what she thought about it. The girl thought for a while and answered that she didn't know. Then she added that if he wanted to kill her, he would have done it immediately. That he is not like those who will hesitate for a long time to kill someone or not. Syrinx continued that she also thought he was the type to like to catch his opponent off guard. That's what kind of person he is. And with these words, the girl showed Heimdall the falling rope from her hands. He froze in surprise, and with a satisfied expression on her face, Syrinx directed her palms at Heimdall, from which a bright yellow light began to break out. The boy was thrown back. When he regained consciousness, he grabbed a knife and prepared to pounce on the girl. And Syrinx wasted no time shouting a spell. Heimdall beckoned with a knife pointed at his throat. Syrinx's spell immobilized him. The girl approached him and, taking the knife from his hands, noted that now everything is the other way around. Proud of herself and smiling, Syrinx stood over the boy with the knife and rope and asked if he was surprised. Then, with a slight smile, she added that she would not apologize, that he behaved too arrogantly, thinking that everything was so simple with her, and demonstrated the rope. The girl knew that now the boy could not move, that she would not allow it. Heimdall asked what she did. Tying the rope, Syrinx explained that she heals people, but she also knows a few spells to keep herself safe. Since she is an illegal healer, she should have similar insurance. And then she leaned over to the boy in the shelter and said that she could not use this spell on others because it only works on the opposite sex. And she laughed, saying how good it was that he turned out to be a man. Heimdall did not appreciate such a joke. Syrinx, still with the same contented face, said that she hoped he did not take offense at her because of this. After all, she did to him the way he did to her. The guy looked at the girl and asked what she will do with him now. Syrinx began to muse aloud that some species of animals were ruining the ecosystem. Heimdall became nervous after hearing this, and the girl replied that she would just let him go. But with a sly smile, she added that she would do it during the day. The guy smiled evilly and asked, "What will happen next?" With a smile on his face, Heimdall noted that if he returned, she would be in danger. Syrinx was not fazed by this. With an indifferent expression on her face, she explained that in that case, she would make her spell work on him for a month. Not hearing an answer from the boy, the girl sarcastically noted that maybe he is not so against it. Heimdall coldly replied that he would not forget this girl. Syrinx looked at him curiously and asked, was he not the first to do this to her? To which Heimdall replied that he was selfish, and that the girl should hope that magic will help her. Syrinx calmly answered, everything will be like that because her life is dear. Sitting so close to Heimdall, Syrinx involuntarily began to look at his bare chest, which was visible from under his shirt. She even stopped her hand, which had already reached out to him. Heimdall wondered what the spell sounded like. The girl directly replied that it was Sientat, but with a satisfied face, she explained what it meant, to sit. Such an answer only annoyed the boy. He felt like a dog, and Syrinx happily got up and went to her room. Finally, she wished the dog good night and left. Now she felt real relief. A new morning and a new day have come, and some were already sitting and tearfully begging for forgiveness. Heimdall shouted that he would take full responsibility. It all started when the boy started to come to his senses in the morning. He sat on the floor all night tired. Opening his eyes, the first thing he saw was Syrinx. He looked at the girl with a sleepy and cloudy look for a few seconds and did not quite understand where he was. And then when I understood, I was very scared. The guy immediately started looking for his glasses. Since Syrinx had them, she went over and put them on him, and she smiled very sweetly. Heimdall fell to his knees. He was pale and frightened. He was still not well. With a trembling voice, he asked the girl if he had done something bad at night. Syrinx mysteriously answered that not everything is so simple. Heimdall opened his mouth in shock. He asked what he had done. The girl had fun watching the boy's reaction. Therefore, she was in no hurry to answer questions, and she couldn't think of anything better than to say that he pursued her. Heimdall was confused, and Syrinx sat and watched with his reaction. She wondered what he would do. Heimdall slowly knelt down. Tears rolled from his eyes. He uttered barely audibly, still unable to hold back. The girl was shocked. She did not understand why he was crying. Syrinx looked at the boy's sad, beautiful face, tears streaming from his blue eyes. The girl wondered where the bandit had gone. Heimdall continued to cry as he knelt before Syrinx. He said very quietly that he would take responsibility, but it was so quiet that the girl did not hear. And then Heimdall shouted at the top of his voice that if it wasn't there, he would take all the responsibility. Syrinx became uncomfortable. There was silence in the room. Heimdall was also on his knees, and Syrinx sat across from him. The girl started first. She asked how the boy was going to take responsibility. Heimdall frowned, and he just started the phrase that he would, as Syrinx abruptly stopped him, saying that it was unnecessary. The boy was puzzled by her such a sharp answer. He noted that she herself said that he was harassing her, and Syrinx, smiling, explained that it was only a joke. She was just joking. She wondered about herself. How could it be one person? Rather, she understood that it was one person, but she was still surprised. Then, having calmed down a little, Heimdall wondered, why did she tie him up then? For a moment, the girl thought again about how best to answer the boy, and she blurted out directly that he had threatened her. Indescribable horror appeared on Heimdall's face. He wanted to say something but couldn't dare, and now, gaining courage, the boy asked if he hurt her. Syrinx answered with a calm voice and a slight smile that he had not hurt her, but he had a knife. And she added that thanks to some skills she possessed, he did not injure her. The girl somewhat understood that there were 3 categories of people who needed to be extremely careful in their lane. These are old men, women, and children. But the question was, why some did not want to leave this place? The fact was that they had their own benefit from living in this place, and there is nothing to show off here. Syrinx wanted to simply explain to Heimdall that in this area, everyone is getting out of their way. And then she caught his determined gaze on her. He apologized and asked if the girl could help him this time. Syrinx was confused. She asked again if she understood his question correctly. Heimdall continued that he didn't know what else to say to the girl, but if she would help him, he would do anything. Then he got agitated and started ranting that he knew he was asking her again after she had already helped him. But Syrinx stopped him and asked him to calm down. It was unusual for the girl to see Heimdall so confused, but he couldn't be trusted so easily. Syrinx said that she will definitely listen to him, but she tries not to interfere in the affairs of those whom she treated, and she added that she did not want to have anything to do with him. The boy sighed gloomily. Then he asked him to listen. It was about the fact that it wasn't him at night. Syrinx was quite surprised by his words. She clarified why is it not him? Heimdall looked down. He said that he did not know how to explain it to the girl, but he added that they don't know each other's memories. Since Syrinx knew everything, she wanted to hear the story from his mouth. That's why she pretended to be surprised. The boy continued to tell that what happens at night he cannot describe and he cannot stop it in any way. The girl clarified whether it was somehow related to the fact that he was in the blood that day. Heimdall confirmed that it was. Syrinx said that someone brought him to her that night and he passed out. Perhaps he himself asked someone to bring him to her. Maybe he knows who that man is. Heimdall nodded and said he knew. It was probably a trusted person. He continued that person and fell silent. Syrinx raised her finger and asked the boy to stop there. She understood that it was better not to know the man's name at all than to find out something extra and then get involved in trouble. The girl looked at Heimdall and said that he might not say that. The guy was surprised and confused. He lowered his head in shame and asked Syrinx if she doesn't like him that much. The girl didn't understand what he was talking about. Then Heimdall, out of excitement, again began to blurt out something like, how much does she dislike him? Syrinx asked if he meant appearance, and the guy made it clear that he meant what she said she wanted nothing to do with him. Syrinx was confused. Embarrassed, Heimdall explains that he is a little sad to hear such a thing. He had no idea that everything was so bad with him, and flooded with blush shouted that after all, he is not as bad as she thinks about him. The Syrinx was destroyed. She didn't think he blushed because of his words, and she wondered what exactly he was thinking about. Calming down, Heimdall said that he did not know why he was here and that he really sincerely apologizes, but the boy sharply raised his head and, coming close, looked Syrinx in the eyes and continued that if suddenly he came to her again, would she be able to heal him again? And added that he would repay her at any price. At the same moment, the girl touched the boy's lips with her fingers. She asked him not to speak so carelessly. The guy didn't understand. Then Syrinx explained that in this alley one should be especially careful with one's tongue. As an example, she asked the boy what he would do if asked for something unexpected special, and ran her finger over his shirt, exposing his chest. Heimdall froze and blushed. The boy was burning with shame, and Syrinx continued to poke her finger into his muscular chest. The girl asked the boy how it is possible to say that he will do everything that is asked of him. And she continued to run her fingers down his shirt. With a smile, Syrinx began to think out loud. What should she ask then? Maybe to repay her with his body? Heimdall jumped away from the girl as if scalded. He began to suggest in an excited voice that it would be better to ask the yogi for some physical work. And he emphasized that he is good at it. Syrinx replied that she did not really believe in such a thing. The guy blushed. He was so shocked by the girl's words that he didn't know what to answer. And she explained to him that a lot of bad things are happening in this area. Syrinx herself understood that there was actually a very high probability that such a handsome boy would be sold into slavery in the 5th district, and no one will behave innocently with him. And he, having experienced the slave trade since childhood, will never forgive the district. Therefore, it is quite likely that in 3 years this market will burn to the ground. The girl clapped her hands and, pretending that it was all a joke, told the boy that she would do what he asked. Heimdall was pleasantly surprised. He sat down closer to the girl to clarify her words, and she confirmed that she will continue to treat him. The boy's eyes filled with hope and gratitude. In fact, Syrinx had one very important goal. She desperately needed to find a special gem. Everything else was unimportant. When the main character is on stage, secondary characters can easily remain invisible. And the more main characters, the better it was for the girl. And Heimdall was perfect for that. Heimdall was still sitting on his knees and thanking Syrinx. After all, he did not even think that she would agree. It seemed to him that the girl did not really want to treat people. Syrinx remarked to herself that the boy was a good man. She knew that in time he would discover his own self-healing abilities. Well, for now, she will help him for a while. The girl shared with Heimdall that she actually doesn't really like watching people bleed. She thought that the fact that she healed him several times would not change the plot of the novel. Moreover, after a while, this man will forget about all the good things she did for him. And then, after one big and terrible incident, he becomes the main antagonist. Heimdall thanked the girl. She, pointing with her finger, said that it is not worth thanking because this is not free help. Heimdall was surprised. It's as if he just decided everything. And Syrinx remarked that he didn't think she wouldn't ask for help. The boy replied that it was not so, and asked what she wants. The girl again smiled slyly and asked what he had to offer. At first, Heimdall began to say, somewhat uncertainly, that he was not one of the stupid ones. And the girl knew that, judging by the first and second parts of the novel, he was the smartest there. Then, more confidently and boldly, the boy added that he also had a good appearance. Syrinx confirmed it. And at the end, Heimdall loudly blurted out that he still knows how to cook and has a lot of money. Syrinx again enjoyed the boy's reaction with a smile. She wondered aloud what she should do. She also has a lot of money. She said about herself that she is not interested in beauty either. She is also not interested in cooking, so she buys food in a neighboring house. The girl knew that Andrew cooks very well and his prices are moderate. Leaning closer to Heimdall, she said that she was not sure about the head. In her mind, it was still hard for her to believe that this man was the main antagonist. And she added that she is also not sure about her appearance. The guy was confused, and then an idea flashed in his head. Jumping to his feet, he asked Syrinx what she thought about help in accounting. And he pointed his finger in the direction of the board, on which hung Syrinx's various accounts and calculations regarding her business. He took a closer look and noted that in the middle of the calculations, a mistake was made during multiplication. And he clearly said that there should be 9,097 and that it is more convenient to make such calculations vertically, not horizontally. Syrinx was amazed. Surprised, she asked, "Did he really see it?" The girl noted his abilities about herself. Heimdall, a little embarrassed, replied that he had good eyesight. And just as Syrinx started to ask, "Then why does he have glasses?" she immediately stopped herself and said to forget about it. The girl went to the blackboard on the wall and took a small piece of paper. The thought did not leave her. How did he calculate everything at once? The guy approached Syrinx and begged to clarify that she actually follows market trends. The girl confirmed that it was indeed so and asked how he understood it. Heimdall explained that he understood this from the calculation system, but he also saw some misorganized things in her and said that he can help her with this. In the middle, Syrinx was unhappy that everything was so bad for her. The guy stubbornly replied that he would handle everything. The girl understood that she herself was not very good at this. Surely Heimdall wanted to work as an accountant and secretary, she thought. Syrinx thought about it. And the boy stood next to him, hoping for a positive result. Then the girl glanced at Heimdall once more. She hesitated in her decision. Catching her gaze, the boy smiled sweetly and assured that he would work diligently. Syrinx thought to herself that she now had her first regular patient. Then the girl asked what they should do with him at night. What if it is not he who comes, but that one? She would like to avoid being stabbed every night, to which the guy calmly replied that she could just cut the other one down. And then he began to give examples that it could be a frying pan or even better its rib. Syrinx wasn't sure if it was appropriate to talk about such things so carelessly. She noted in her mind that it was his body as well. The girl agreed to such measures, but emphasized that she would treat him only during the day. Heimdall agreed and beamed with happiness. Then he added that he would try not to harm her. Syrinx did not quite believe his words. The next night, the whole wounded night, Heimdall crawled to her house. The girl asked herself the question, how many more times will she have to see this picture? Syrinx left the house. Sitting down next to the exhausted boy, she began to ask sarcastically, what happened to the dog? Did he go nuts again? Why didn't anyone spend it today? Exhausted, Heimdall still managed to get up and threaten the girl not to speak to him in such a sarcastic tone again. Syrinx just smiled back. Taking a closer look at the boy, the girl noticed that this time there were many wounds. She didn't understand how he could get them. Syrinx pointed out that the daytime Heimdall had told her in which case she cut him down. Night Heimdall didn't believe in such nonsense. Syrinx remarked that it was no nonsense that he himself had recommended her to cut him down with a pan. The girl remembered how they even chose a suitable pan for this. The boy angrily asked if he really said that. Syrinx thought that of course she wouldn't treat him like that. The girl understood that she had only one spell that would not harm him, so there was nothing wrong with her wanting to have a backup plan. The girl asked the boy if he even knows what his current condition is. And what kind of lifestyle does he lead? Syrinx noticed that he had been stabbed and burned, and wondered how he was still conscious after such beatings. It was as if Heimdall had been struck by lightning. He changed his face and growled at the girl in a creepy voice that, in such moments, isn't it better to say, after the fight? Instead of calling it beatings. Syrinx froze, and Heimdall continued, did he tell her that he had been beaten? The girl casually replied that she came to this conclusion because he looked like a stray dog. And in general, is he familiar with such a thing as logical thinking? That everyone would come to such conclusions after seeing his wounds. Heimdall smiled and denied that it wasn't. Getting closer, he said that people usually ask where exactly he was wounded. In addition, he does not look like those who can be spanked. Syrinx couldn't hold back a nervous laugh. She began to say that it was daytime, and Heimdall interrupted. He said that he is daytime, can only guess what he does at night, but he can't know for sure. And standing in front of the girl in full height, Heimdall ominously asked what the girl knew about him. Syrinx tensed. She understood that he had caught her. Heimdall looked like a beast ready to pounce on its prey. The girl tried to distract him. She called him "Hey" and asked what was wrong with his expression, as if he will now turn her neck. The guy did react to the disparaging "hey." Throwing up a blue stone, Syrinx emphasized that she had saved the boy last time, and asked if he was aware of this. And wasn't it thanks to her that he now lived peacefully? Heimdall was immobilized again, and the girl continued to talk annoyed. She noted that a person who survived thanks to her should talk to her like that, and asked if the boy is ashamed. Syrinx sat on the threshold of the house. Looking at the boy, she was annoyed that he was not looking at her, as if she owed him something, and that in such a situation even a bow from him would not be enough. The girl got up from the ground. A small box was standing next to her. Syrinx continued noting that the guy didn't even say thank you to her. She said that she knew people like him well, people who, for the sake of their goal, were ready to unite with a serial killer, and that people like him can, if necessary, stick a knife in the back of their parents. She understood that it was normal for his lifestyle to behave like this, but he shouldn't have treated her with such hatred. Heimdall resisted the spell and tried to say something, but Syrinx shouted for him to shut up. She leaned over to the boy and, running her finger along his cheek, indicated that in any case he would not harm her because she could heal him. Then the girl smiled carelessly and asked if he no longer had plans to kill her. Everything looked as if the boy was beating the girl unbearably. But in reality, she was pretending because she wanted to teach him a lesson. And it didn't matter much that soon he wouldn't be looking for her anymore after he could heal himself. Syrinx asked Heimdall again if he was still glaring at her. She thought to herself that in any case he wasn't feeling so bad, but she still needed to heal him sooner, because he might not die, but he risked being crippled. Moreover, his hand needed immediate treatment. The girl took out the rope that was attached to her belt. She crouched next to Heimdall and began tying him. He looked at the girl and asked what she was doing. Syrinx directly replied that she was tying him up. After a few seconds, the boy's hands were already tied. The girl noted that this is how she knows how to tie animals. Heimdall snapped that if she wanted him to kill her, then she could continue in the same vein. This did not scare the girl. She only exhaled heavily. And then, like a little child, she began to blow her lips, and the little angel innocently looked at the boy and asked if he still wanted to kill her. Syrinx did this on purpose. She wanted to laugh at the look on Heimdall's face, who sat helplessly biting his lower lip out of malice and getting annoyed. The girl offered the boy to think that if he swings his big fist at her, she will scream loudly in fear. And by the way, what if she drowns him in the river? Syrinx made a frightened face and said that if she tied him like that, he would definitely not be able to get out of the river. Heimdall noted that he seems to be much kinder than the girl. In response, she laughed and reminded the boy of the day when he met her with a knife. Heimdall then leaned towards Syrinx and whispered that her eyes said she was afraid. The girl backed away from him and said she thought he wanted her to be afraid of him, and she asked the boy if he is sometimes a pervert. Heimdall exhaled and said with a smile that he surrendered. Syrinx began to heal the boy's arm. He was sweating from the pain, but he endured, then asked how much longer. The girl explained that treatment with precious stones is painful and takes some time. She asked how he could be hurt so badly, and she added that if he was patient, she would give him candy. Heimdall is mad. Syrinx continued the treatment, and the boy suffered in silence. At some point, he was in excruciating pain. The girl stopped and looked intently at Heimdall. She took out 2 new stones and mumbled that how can you treat your own body like that? And what a guy should keep in mind that one moment his body may just not take it. Heimdall looked at the girl and asked if she knew about this from her own experience. She replied that she was not sure. As the small wounds on his body lingered, Syrinx asked the boy to raise his head. He asked why, and she, turning his head, answered to heal his neck. The girl noted that it hurt the most here. She felt sorry for Heimdall. How did he endure all this pain? How long was he subjected to violence? Enduring the pain, the boy asked the girl that he thought she had a good life. So was there a reason why she was helping him? Then he added that there are usually 2 types of people living in such areas, the victim and the guilty perpetrator. Heimdall suddenly came close to the girl's face and looked into her eyes. He noted that she did not feel guilt. The guy smiled slyly and added that it must be sympathy. He continued that everything was visible on the girl's face, that she went through something similar, or someone from her environment. Syrinx said that she was not obliged to answer. Heimdall said that he was good at understanding people's feelings, and took his neck away from the girl's hand. To which she replied that if it was true, it would be nice if he analyzed her emotions after the treatment. Syrinx rose to her feet, picking up her box of stones, and with a desolate look, told the boy she was done. The girl turned around and, warning the boy who was leaving, headed for the door. Taking hold of the door handle, Syrinx froze for a moment. Her conscience began to torment her. She couldn't leave him like that. It was the end of winter, and the streets were still very cold. Although she cured him, the fatigue and exhaustion did not go away. Syrinx called out to Heimdall, "Hey," again. He raised his head. The girl said she was giving him a choice. Will he sleep tied up on the street? Or will he promise her something and sleep in the house? The guy asked what exactly he should promise. Syrinx replied that he would not harm her. Heimdall thought. The girl already doubted whether she should have said it. She turned back to the house and told him to forget about it. Suddenly, the boy shouted that he promised, and asked to tell him about the conditions right away. Syrinx turned and with a sarcastic smile remarked, was it normal to answer her savior so boldly? As for conditions, there are none. Heimdall did not believe that there were no conditions. The girl put the box on the ground and asked why he thought so. Thought everyone was like him. She said that she would tell him something now. First, as he said, she's been through a lot. Secondly, she has 2 younger children, and one of them was hurt because his father hit him, and he seriously damaged his eye. Therefore, after that, she cannot calmly look at people's injuries. And asked if he understood now. and in general, she said that she wanted. Syrinx added that since the boy had listened to her, he could enter the house, but first he had to swear to the red gem she held in her hand. Heimdall asked indignantly, why would he do that? The girl noted that he was angry and told her to repeat after her that from now on he would become a good person. Of course the guy said it was nonsense and he wouldn't do it. Syrinx understood that this would not work with him. Then the girl held out the stone and asked him to repeat the following, that he would promise not to harm Syrinx in any way that night. Heimdall just repeated her name out loud, Syrinx. The girl said that this is enough and he can come in. The boy wondered what would happen if he broke his promise. And Syrinx replied that nothing like that would happen, that she would just put him in chains. But if he keeps his word, he won't have any problems. The girl led him to the house and showed him a sofa on which he could spend the night. Heimdall asked if she would go upstairs, that he would like her to stay by his side, and he added that he felt how his body became hot. Syrinx looked annoyed at the boy and asked him to stop talking nonsense and rest properly. Heimdall plopped down on the sofa. He turned to the girl and asked why she does not go upstairs. Syrinx said she was not getting up, and she had already told him that she was a very busy person. That money does not come to her by itself. Heimdall watched with interest as the girl walked to the table that served as a counter. Suddenly a stranger appeared at the door. A guest has come. An older man with a grey short beard, wearing a black coat and top hat with a cane in his hands. Syrinx exclaimed with joy on her face that her most favourite customer had arrived. She glowed with happiness and was extremely kind. Such a scene almost made Heimdall sick. The girl gave him a stern look. The boy quickly turned away as if nothing had happened. The man giggled quietly, noting that the girl greeted everyone just as hospitably. She asked with a smile, did something have to change? And she added that her kindness and loyalty, like precious stones, are unchanging. That this is her iron rule. The guest took out a small bag from his bosom, and Syrinx pulled it out. The girl noticed that the man's hand was shaking. She didn't understand why. Syrinx took the bag and asked if she could pay in gold as usual. The man said yes, but began to tremble all over and did not clearly ask the girl to hurry. The girl turned away to get the payment, and she was alert in her mind. He was a regular customer who always brought good things, but today he was not the same. Syrinx turned to the guest and handed him the payment. The man, covering his mouth, began to speak softly to the girl. He said he shouldn't say that, but warned her to be careful. Syrinx was quite surprised and asked what he was talking about, and the man turned around and ran to the exit. The girl tried to stop him, but it didn't work. He jumped out into the yard and slammed the door behind him. Syrinx thought about her husband's words. Maybe the boss of the neighbouring organisation has changed? She decided to check it out tomorrow. Something was wrong here. The girl sat down at the table next to the sofa on which Heimdall was sitting. She put on the monocle and began to take out what was in the bag. Heimdall also noted that the girl had a strange guest who was covered in cold sweat. Syrinx also said that this guest does not usually behave like this and that he was indeed somewhat strange today. The boy noted that people always behave like this when they are threatened with something terrible. The girl asked what terrible things he said. Then Heimdall wondered what was wrong with her face. The girl did not understand what he meant by this and asked what the guy meant. With a sly smile, he noted that the girl was completely different with clients. And Syrinx asked, maybe he also wants her to behave like that with him? And the boy fell silent. He did not like such an idea. The girl looked at him, and it turned out that he was already snoring, leaning back on the sofa. Syrinx continued to work. With long tweezers, she pulled out a small purple stone. The girl was happy because it was a small diamond. And this meant that the product is very good today. Syrinx felt someone's gaze on her. It was Heimdall. He watched her intently. Therefore, there was a sharp feeling that she had a stray cat at home. Although not even a cat, but some kind of predator. The guy asked what she was doing. The girl replied that she was examining precious stones. He clarified that he was not asking about that, but about her profession. Did she want to release her product? Syrinx asked why he was interested in this. Maybe he had an interest in her? Heimdall was surprised. He did not expect such an answer. The guy bit his finger and decided to take the initiative into his own hands. He confirmed that this was indeed the case, and asked how she understood it. Then the boy with a lustful expression asked what she thought about him. Isn't his face beautiful? It costs a lot of money. The Syrinx froze. Then Heimdall decided to go further. He tore a button off his shirt with his teeth. Opening his shirt and exposing his torso, he asked the girl in a nauseous voice, "How does she like his body?" Syrinx's jaw dropped. She definitely did not expect such a seductive show. But after driving the indecent thoughts away, she took control of herself. She continued her work and asked the boy not to distract her because she had to make it to the morning. Heimdall smiled at the girl's reaction. He noted that she will be a very reliable person in the family. In response, Syrinx asked that then he would be an unemployed man in the family? Heimdall smiled sweetly and replied that he would be a male butcher who kills people. The girl found among other stones one quite pure blue. She was happy because it will be possible to sell it for a great price. While the Syrinx was working, Heimdall began to drift off to sleep and at some point fell asleep. As soon as the boy fell asleep, the girl cast a spell on the orange stone, which began to glow brightly. The girl looked through this light at another blue stone. Syrinx noted with delight, "Bingo, she found him." With the help of the Force, the girl could identify a valuable gem. In her family, this special skill was passed down from childhood. And thanks to this, she could live an interesting life. Syrinx was asked if she had found anything of value, and she, not breaking away from her work on the machine, answered that it is not so easy to find something valuable. The girl sharply raised her head. Standing nearby was Heimdall, whom she hadn't noticed. Syrinx asked what happened. The boy was alert like a predator. His face was serious and his eyes were burning. He scared Syrinx. Then she turned her attention to the bag of gems. There was something else in there. The girl reached for this thing in the bag. Inside it lay something that shocked her. But as soon as she realized what it was, she jumped away from the table. Heimdall took out and twirled his knives. He noted that the house would soon be surrounded. The shadow that flickered behind the door of the house told him about this. Now it was clear to Syrinx why the visitor had warned her to be careful. Heimdall asked why she was looking like that. And the girl, holding in her hands a necklace with a huge decorated jewel in the middle, explained that it was a stolen item. Syrinx knew that everyone in the Empire wanted this gem. She told Heimdall that they were most likely already surrounded by knights outside, and they weren't about to leave. The girl showed the boy a necklace with a large precious stone and explained that in her hands she held a very valuable item for a high-ranking family. He was a high-ranking count who had good connections with the imperial family. This was the reason for the appearance of knights. Heimdall understood that the situation was not simple. Syrinx packed the things and the stolen necklace into a bag, and then she turned to the boy and added that he fell into the trap just like her. Heimdall looked at the girl without understanding what she was talking about. Syrinx said with a smile on her face. Now he could be caught with her. The girl grabbed Heimdall's hand and pulled him along. The guy asked, "Where are they going?" Syrinx offered the boy to stay if he wanted to be caught by the knights. Heimdall didn't mind going with her, but he wanted to know exactly where they were going. The girl remarked that he shouldn't have shown his face to the knights to begin with. Therefore, she offered to go with her through the secret door. Heimdall watched with disbelief as the girl searched for a secret exit in the floor of the house. He asked that after the passage they would escape. Syrinx, lifting the cover of the secret passage, smiled and answered that no. Going down the secret passage, the couple found themselves in a tavern. The girl explained that this passage leads to another house and emphasized that it is very cool. Here Andrew appeared, who greeted and asked what happened to the girl this time. Syrinx sighed heavily and replied that everything was as usual. Already standing on the street, Andrew handed the girl a paper bag. Syrinx thanked him and handed him payment in the form of a coin. With a smile, Andrew caught the coin and asked if it really goes. The girl said she was leaving right now. Andrew then added that he would accept the coin now, and he would treat him next time. The boy gave her a final smile, and Syrinx looked at him gratefully. Andrew was taken aback by the girl's reaction. He asked why she was so serious. He hopes she will be okay. Syrinx put her hand on his shoulder and asked him to just wish her success as always. The guy fulfilled her wish. And then he added that he would be sorry if such a beautiful neighbor like her disappeared. The girl gave him a warm smile in response. She said that if she was killed, it would definitely be Torch's fault. Therefore, she asked Andrew to spit on him at the meeting. The boy was embarrassed, but understood that it was in the spirit of Syrinx. Andrew asked if these events were somehow related to the fact that she was leaving recently. The girl asked why he was interested. The guy explained that he was worried because his clients started disappearing one by one, and he didn't know if this information would be useful to her or not. Syrinx was surprised at what she heard, and Heimdall was watching from the side at this time. Andrew added that if a girl wants to leave the first district, then she should go all the time in the direction of 8 o'clock and not turn anywhere. Syrinx left as the neighbor advised. Heimdall followed her. Here Heimdall called Syrinx. They stopped. The boy wanted to hear at least some explanation from the girl. Syrinx thought that Heimdall would leave as soon as they left Andrew's tavern. Usually after treatment, you need to rest for 3 days. She did not understand how he had the strength to follow her. The boy smiled slyly. He slowly reached for Syrinx's hand and gently took it. He said he didn't mind running away, but why did they need to do that? What was the reason? Intertwining his fingers, Heimdall continued to ask, shouldn't he know what was going on? And then he pulled the girl by the hand closer to him and, looking Syrinx in the eyes, added that he would not let her go until he satisfied his curiosity. The girl swallowed. She was not at ease. With a serious expression on her face, she repeated that she had already told him that it was a stolen item. The guy asked if this was a reason to run away. He said he was sure an illegal like her was used to this sort of thing. Syrinx replied that everything was true, but only on the condition that it is not someone else's plan. The girl slowly began to free her hand from Heimdall's grip and continued to explain that it was no coincidence that all the knights surrounded her house in the middle of the night. And besides, why did such a rare stone get to the illegal? She concluded that it was definitely a trap. Syrinx held out a huge dark stone in Heimdall's hands, which was decorated with pearls and diamonds. She explained that they were Tears of Aslot, that it is the best gem in the Empire, which has a history of 120 years. 8 years ago, the Emperor gave this jewel to his younger sister when she married Count Amanti. The girl continued that this thing had become a family heirloom of Countess Amanti. Therefore, there is not a person in the Empire who does not know about this stone. But more recently, the Count announced that a family heirloom had disappeared. On his behalf, the search for this jewel continues. The Count sent the knights to look for the relic on the black market. Therefore, they spend all this time walking in their area. Syrinx added that, among other things, the man who visited her shop was behaving very strangely, and it was obvious that he was afraid of something. And he was not one of those who would do that to her. Heimdall concluded that someone wanted to frame Syrinx. The girl nodded affirmatively. She thought that these could be people who wanted to get rid of her, that they could throw this jewel at her. Syrinx thought to herself that it could have been the blessings of darkness or the Torch Guild. She told Heimdall that they could be the ones he beat last time, to which he replied that he managed to beat a lot of people. Syrinx explained that she didn't want to know anything about his crazy life, that she meant the ones he beat when he came to her. Heimadler thought and wondered if this was the guy who looked like a catfish. The girl laughed and said yes. After all, such behavior suits him, and that it was his people who could have thrown her the stolen thing. The guy said that she must have been very angry about it. Syrinx did not argue. Heimdall noted that even customers can cheat in the market, and drops of sweat ran down his face. The girl noticed that the boy was sweating profusely. She asked why he didn't go away. Heimdall explained that as they were leaving the shop, he was spotted by one of the knights. Syrinx asked if he was sure about this. The guy answered yes. Moreover, he realized that he would not go far in this condition. And besides, it became clear to him that the girl had some kind of safe place. Heimdall told the girl to take him there. Also, with a sly smile, he noted that since the girl treated him, she should be responsible for him. Syrinx replied that it has never provided services to anyone after treatment, that it is impudence on his part to ask for such a thing, and she added that he was the worst of those she had met. Heimdall just smiled and thanked him for the compliment. For several seconds they stood in the middle of the night and quiet street and just looked at each other. Syrinx sighed and noted that the boy seemed to be a little kinder because of his bad health. And then the girl sharply grabbed Heimdall's breasts. He was stunned. And bending his face close to hers, Syrinx looked into Heimdall's eyes and said that she would very much like him to remember that she was helping him. Then the girl let him go and turned around and said that if he really wants it, then let him follow her. She will take him to a safe place, and she left. Moving away from the boy, Syrinx told the boy to keep in mind that if he loses consciousness, she will not drag him. Heimdall stood still, and she called him a puppy. The guy came to his senses and noted that it was very generous of her. They walked through the dark and deserted streets of the city. Heimdall asked where they were going. Syrinx answered that to the second district. The girl knew that in their area there were small illegal shops, but in the second there were large ones, especially on the first street. She hoped that by walking in the direction Andrew had mentioned, they would be able to escape from their pursuers. And then Syrinx stopped. Ahead, in the middle of the street, stood 3 men discussing something. Syrinx saw a knife in one of them, and on the sleeve of the hand that held the knife, she noticed a button with the symbol of Blessed Darkness. Heimdall also saw the men standing ahead. He did not know who they were. He wanted to approach Syrinx closer and ask, but as he took a step, he caught something and it fell to the ground with a loud noise. The girl looked scared at the boy. The mercenaries ahead saw Syrinx with Heimdall. Syrinx tensed. She didn't want them to notice, but it was too late. The men looked at each other. Among them was a captain who gave the order to kill them. The girl thought that the mercenaries might have blocked all the exits. She took out one of her gems, this time a blue one. Syrinx asked Heimdall if he could fight. But the boy was silent. The girl understood that she would have to deal with everything herself. She turned to the attackers and prepared a stone for the attack. Mercenaries with knives in their hands rushed to her. Syrinx pointed her hands with the stone in their direction and shouted an incantation. A bright light flashed, blinding the men. At that moment, Heimdall appeared from behind the girl. He warned the girl to be more careful and rushed towards the attackers with a knife in his hands. Within seconds, the boy cut the throats of 2 mercenaries. The third ran away. Heimdall's eyes were burning. He was like a beast. Noticing the third, the boy thrust a knife into his back. The goal was achieved. Heimdall stood in the middle of the street, and the bodies of the attackers lay around him. Syrinx looked at this picture in silence. Then Heimdall called out to her. Sweaty and tired, but with a smile, he said that if the girl didn't take responsibility for him, she would be in trouble. They walked quickly through the streets of the city. Syrinx thought about Heimdall's words that she had to take responsibility for him, or she would be in trouble. At that moment, she replied that she understood everything. But Heimdall added that if she understood everything, he hoped that she would try harder in the future. These words did not leave the girl's head, and in general, she was confused by such a situation. Glancing at the pouch that Syrinx had brought with her, she wondered how many gems she still had left. After all, this was the main drawback of her abilities. She could use her power only with the help of stones. The girl decided that she should no longer use spells to attack, because she cannot lose her vigilance, because she didn't know how things could turn out. Having reached the crossroads, Syrinx looked around. It seemed to her that no one was chasing them anymore. The girl gave Heimdall directions and explained that there was a second district. They were standing at the crossroads near the lamppost. Heimdall looked around and noticed that this street was quite lit. Syrinx replied that despite this, people here also steal and cling to others, and she added that it is relatively safe here so the boy can relax. The girl thought to herself, not everywhere is safe here, but there is a place she trusts. Heimdall asked how relatively, and Syrinx explained that this is compared to the first district where they were. The boy began to breathe hard. Sweat was pouring down. His vision became blurred. The girl turned to Heimdall and said that he was out of breath. The guy asked, why is she following him? Syrinx replied that she was not following but observing. The girl explained that she feels responsible for the fact that the seriously ill patient needs to follow her now and not rest. That is why she monitors his condition. Then Heimdall asked flatteringly, how long had she been monitoring his condition? Maybe she was interested in something else in him. Syrinx only replied in annoyance that she was glad that the boy still had the strength to joke. The girl knew it was because she had healed Heimdall's wounds and restored his arm, but the body was now in shock because it had healed quickly with magic, so it needed time to recover. She stared at the boy. This condition of his troubled her. Heimdall noticed Syrinx's worried look on him and began to look at her with an equally interested and sly look. The girl felt creepy from such a look. She asked why he was looking at her like a pervert, and she added that she thought he was thinking about something very stupid. The guy replied, what if it is? Syrinx said that in that case she would start screaming, pervert! Heimdall tensed at the prospect. The girl replied that she was joking and warned that if the boy did not want to be tied up, he should behave quietly. Heimdall exhaled with a laugh. Syrinx put the boy on her shoulder to help him walk, and Heimdall smilingly said that she is a very unpredictable girl. Continuing to walk down the street, the guy asked if he could pay her debt for help gradually. The girl replied that she does not give any installments. Syrinx added that he could only thank her now. And since it was not easy for her to carry him now, she asked the boy to look ahead and not fall on top of her. And so they reached a large and elegant building. Syrinx said they were there. Heimdall looked at the building and asked if this was the place. The girl confirmed. The guy noted that the building was not bad. Syrinx explained that it was in his master's style. At the entrance to the building stood 3 rather bulky men. One of them greeted the girl and noted that they had not seen each other for a long time. In response, Syrinx also greeted and agreed with the man. With Heimdall on her shoulders, she entered the middle of the building. The guard who was in the middle invited them to face further. Everything in the house was very beautiful, luxurious and elegant. Heimdall felt uneasy. He warned the girl that there was a rather unusual atmosphere there. Syrinx explained that the owner of the house said that it was necessary to make the guest feel afraid from the very beginning, so the client will feel that he was squeezed. Did the guy not understand what it means to squeeze? Putting the boy on his feet, the girl explained that it was because the owner was a usurer. Syrinx flexed her aching shoulders a little. The servant who escorted them said that they were already expected. The girl smiled. She said that it seems that the owner already knew that they would come. A woman's voice was heard inviting them to enter the room. Syrinx and Heimdall entered. There was a feudal lord of the second district and a usurer. He was the second person healed by the girl and also the richest person in the area. Seeing the master of the house, Syrinx bowed low and greeted her with the words that she was glad to see the Lord of Gold. And she was reciprocated. She was a gorgeous and charming woman with long red hair and green eyes. Her real name was Lintella Dulcinez. A woman was sitting and smoking a pipe. She asked Syrinx to spare such unnecessary phrases because that's not what they came here for. The landlady said Syrinx knew she was a man of action. And all the same, sitting on a large and luxurious couch, she asked why the girl was looking for her. Syrinx and Heimdall were sitting on another couch across from the woman. They were silent. The woman tightened her pipe again. After exhaling, the smoke will fill almost the entire room. She was also silent. Syrinx calmly looked at the woman and waited. She knew that Lintella had a habit of not speaking until she had taken 2 puffs of her pipe. The girl noted that people who have reached the top in this field always have a habit that is difficult to understand. Then, Syrinx broke the silence. With an innocent face and a smile, she turned to Lintella, saying that she already knew the reason for their visit. Isn't she one of those people who easily get such information? The girl knew that Lintella had her own information network. Many of her clients were whistleblowers. Lintella looked at the Syrinx and replied that indeed it was. And then, turning her gaze to Heimdall, she asked, "From what pores did the girl have such a wonderful lover? That this is a rare product of high quality." The woman laughed. Syrinx decided she liked Heimdall. The girl knew that Lintella had a very good eye, but Syrinx told Lintella no and placed her hand on Heimdall's arm. The guy was surprised, and the girl added with a smile that she took him for herself. Then her expression changed, and Syrinx said in a stern and serious voice that he was hers. Heimdall was surprised by this behavior of Syrinx. Then he smiled and decided to play along with her. The boy grabbed the girl's hand and brought it to his lips. Kissing Syrinx's hand, Heimdall looked at Lintella and said he was sorry, but he was already sold. Syrinx was amazed at how quickly Heimdall adjusted. Lintella smiled and relaxed on the couch. The girl threw a bag on the table, which was untied so that the stolen item lying in the middle was clearly visible. She turned to the woman saying that she knows what it is, right? Lintella looked indifferently at the contents of the bag and asked what it was. Syrinx laughed and noted that Lintella knew what it was. The girl took the necklace out of the bag and showed it to the woman. Lintella looked at Syrinx with a slight smile. The girl realized that she knew. Syrinx said she would tell Lintella the truth. That this thing was brought to her shop, and asked if it was somehow related to a woman. Lintella was surprised by this. She wondered if during this time the girl had become someone's bait. She also replied that it had nothing to do with her, but she became very interested. In an angrier voice, Lintella said that she was wondering who dared to touch a person who is under the protection of a feudal lord of the 2nd District. That it is even very interesting. Syrinx understood that this person does dirty things, and not everyone can get close to her. This is how she, for example, quite accidentally saved her. Lintella asked the girl what she wanted from her. Syrinx thought for a second, then placed the jewel on the table and moved it towards Lintella. The girl asked that if she asked to get rid of this thing, could she then be safe? Heimdall watched Syrinx in silence. Lintella replied that it was not difficult, and then she asked if the girl had not forgotten anything. The woman said that for her these are little things and she can help the girl, but she will accept the girl's desire as a request. This made Syrinx uneasy, but since there was no choice, she agreed and said that this was all she needed. Lintella approved of this decision and added that it was in return for saving her. The woman also noted that she would help the girl, but then her first request was cancelled, and asked if Syrinx agreed to this. The girl thought. She had only one request. From the very beginning, she wanted to leave this place so that not even a trace would be left behind. Therefore, her priority was to find a special stone that could fulfill her wish. Syrinx decided she couldn't give it up. Syrinx replied to Lintella that she did not agree. She said she would do something for the lady, and she added that in return, let Lintella give her the necessary stones. Lintella was surprised. It became interesting to her that in such a situation, the girl decided to bargain with her. Syrinx pointed out that Lintella knew what she was capable of. The woman agreed and asked what exactly the girl wanted. Syrinx listed that it was a black pearl and a black diamond, and she emphasized that she does not think that it will be a problem for Lintella to get them. Lintella kept looking at the girl and smiled. She agreed and said that Syrinx was very good at what she did and that she didn't want to lose her savior. The girl agreed and, clapping her hands, added that now is the time to talk about something else. Syrinx thought that if Lintella was not her enemy, now was the time to ask her for help. Moreover, if she wants revenge, she will need Lintella's help. Syrinx pointed out that every month the Imperial Auction House brings in tons of gems, and the most valuable jewel displayed there is the crown of Princess Rosataya. It was very expensive, and the winner was Kadoros Temper, who is Lintella's right-hand man. In other words, Lintella herself became the winner. The girl was sure that a cosmic price was set for the crown. But Syrinx turned to Lintella and said that what she won at the auction was actually a very good fake. Lintella's voice became angry. She turned to Syrinx. With an angry look, the woman said that the girl should be aware of the importance of her words. Syrinx confirmed that she understood everything perfectly. The girl offered Lintella to conclude a contract on her hand, or even better, on her head. And then, looking at Lintella, she added that she would give her her life. Lintella was very wary. She was confused by the girl's words. The woman ordered the servant to bring the crown. The scroll. Proof of truth is a magic that determines the truth, and if you lied, your heart will burst with the paper in the same instant. After 7 years of use, this scroll was banned from sale, but it was still obtainable. When the crown was brought, Syrinx took out and showed Lintella the scroll proof of truth. Then the girl loudly declared that the crown was a fake and tore the scroll right in front of Lintella's eyes. There was silence in the room. Nothing happened. Lintella began to seethe with anger. Syrinx asked if the woman remembered how the deal with the Imperial merchant went. Lintella replied that she remembered, and she said that Syrinx found all the fakes that her appraiser didn't even know about. Everything from precious stones to jewelry. Therefore, a woman cannot but trust a girl. Syrinx reassured Lintella by saying that in 3 months they would be able to auction them the appropriate item. The girl knew that even in this world, tycoons of Lintella's level collect luxury items to show off their wealth. But who decided to deceive Lintella and sell her a fake? For Lintella, this is not just a loss of property, but also a blow to pride. The woman once again asked Syrinx what she wanted. The girl exchanged glances with Heimdall and slyly replied that she needed a black pearl and a black diamond. Lintella asked if the girl wanted to make a fake. Syrinx exclaimed with delight that yes, and the girl added that she needed fake identities for the two of them. Lintella said it wasn't that hard, so she would do it for the girl, and wondered what her plans are for the future. Syrinx replied that if her plan worked, they would restore Lintella's honor and exact revenge. And the girl added with a smile that everyone around will find out how these people did to the lady. Syrinx thought to herself that if she was lucky, she too would be able to get some rare stone. Lintelia looked at the girl seriously and said that she liked the girl's courage and honesty. She hopes that she will not be disappointed. Syrinx replied that she would do her best. The servant brought fake IDs and stones on a tray. Lintella asked when it would be ready. The girl answered that the day after tomorrow. Everything will be ready by dawn. The girl got up and went to the servant to take the necessary things. She then turned to Heimdall and said they could go now. But then Lantelia called out to her. She said that as the girl said, she would benefit from what happened at the auction. And with disbelief, she asked what benefit the girl would get from this. Syrinx froze for a moment, pushing Heimdall in the back on his way out. She looked around and noticed something. Syrinx asked how about paying her back with this. Lintelia smiled and said it wasn't worth a shilling. The girl took a rose. The woman asked if Syrinx meant that her roses were worth more to her than precious stones. The girl replied that it happens that insignificant things cost much more than gold coins or jewels. Lintelia smiled, and Syrinx added that she cared who exactly this flower belonged to. Then the girl once again turned to Lintelia, saying that she hoped that after all this, the lady would fulfill her request. But she agreed and said that they had agreed. Looking at Heimdall, Lintelia once again asked Syrinx if she would sell her this jewel after all. The girl replied with a smile that she was not selling this precious stone, although she noted about herself that she herself will soon throw it away. Finally, the girl bowed low to Lintelia and said goodbye, when suddenly Heimdall grabbed her from behind with both hands and hugged her. Then the guy repeated the words, "It's a pity, he's already sold." Lintelia watched this scene with interest, and Heimdall, looking into her eyes, continued that for this reason he does not plan to sell again. Syrinx just remarked to herself that it looked somehow wrong. Finally, they left Lintelia's house and walked down the street. They were accompanied by a bodyguard whom Syrinx knew. The guard said that they noticed that one of them was injured, so to prepare a first aid kit waiting for them on the spot. The girl thanked for the concern. They stopped near one of the buildings. The man added that the hostess said that the girl knew the place and held out his hand to her. The girl took the key she had used last time from his hand. She answered the guard that everything was true. And she noted about herself that this is probably another gesture of goodwill from Lintella. She said goodbye to the guard. Syrinx reflected that there was no guarantee that they would be hidden from their pursuers in this place. They had to wait one night. Moreover, they could not find a better option. Now that they had the fake IDs and the stones, they needed to do things quickly. The girl offered Heimdall to go further. She took out a yellow gem. The girl used some spell and he lit up, rose into the air and was next to the girl. Syrinx turned and went forward. At that moment, Heimdall's eyes changed. They became predatory again and burned with fire. The girl did not notice this and walked forward. She thought to herself that the steps had become very quiet, that you need to be on guard, even when nothing suspicious is heard around, because at any moment, someone could grab her by the neck. Syrinx thought she had someone who could sense something wrong. She did not notice that Heimdall was sneaking up behind her with a knife in his hands. And as soon as she started to say that over there on the right around the corner, how with one swing of the knife, the guy broke the precious stone that was floating in the air near the girl. Heimdall grabbed her by the shoulder and pressed her against the wall of the building. Syrinx asked what he was doing. Is it now fashionable to repay people for kindness? The guy just looked at her angrily. The future that Syrinx knew was that in the original story, Heimdall bought the crown from a feudal lord of the second district. And after some time, Heimdall learns that the crown is a fake. Because of this crown, Heimdall decided to acquire all the feudal lord's possessions. And a fight starts between him and the feudal lord. Holding the girl against the wall, Heimdall asked how she knew the jewelry was fake. Syrinx lied that she knew about it because she had seen this crown before, and yet she knows how to determine from a precious stone how long ago something was made of it. Syrinx explained that the fake crown she saw was professionally made, but she saw that very little time had passed since it was made. Therefore, she was able to easily determine that it was a fake. Then, the girl said that now it was her turn to ask questions. She asked Heimdall if he had a hobby of asking questions like that. And the guy replied that there was no choice because otherwise she did not answer his question. Syrinx said she doesn't like thrills and began to dig into Heimdall's shoulder with her nails, and she added that she likes to deliver such sensations more. The guy smiled and said the girl said she bought it right, so maybe she should have used it. Syrinx also smiled slyly at the boy in response and said that he was not one of those people who could take matters seriously, and in general, she agreed to help him for nothing. Heimdall then asked if she really thought about buying it. The girl with a cold expression replied that she does not buy useless jewelry. The guy lit up happily and added, even if he is useless, he is handsome. Syrinx was able to break free of Heimdall's grip and said that it didn't matter how handsome he was, she didn't need a jewel to destroy her. The boy replied that he was sad to hear such a thing. And was he useless to her? The girl moved away a little and took out a new blue stone from her pocket. Heimdall called out to her and said that she had an ordinary body and below average physical strength, so it seemed that her power was locked in gems. Heimdall continued that the girl would not be able to do anything if the stones grabbed her and took her away. Isn't it too dangerous for her? This angered Syrinx. She asked if the boy was picking a fight. The guy didn't want to fight. He wanted to say that the girl needed someone who could protect her. The girl remarked that he should first put down his knife and talk to her without it. Heimdall explained that he was trying to show how defenseless she was. Isn't that kindness? Clutching the knife, the boy added that the precious stone shows her all his attachment, and she rejects him. Very sad. Syrinx prepared to attack and told the boy to show her everything. Heimdall only smiled predatorily. They both rushed at each other. A bright light flashed. The knife bent and a crack went along the stone. Heimdall yelled at Syrinx to let her see that this was a common mistake of all magic users. That she so sacredly believed in her spells that she did not understand at all that as a result, it would become her weakness. At these words, the girl only smiled sinisterly. She said she had already told the boy that if he touched her or acted against her will, she will tie him. Therefore, he will receive his punishment. And at the same moment, the chains flew out of Syrinx's hands. They began shackling Heimdall. He was in shock. The chains quickly bound his hands and feet, and as a result, the boy fell to the ground. Syrinx walked up to him and said with a smile that she had warned him not to act like that. The girl added that she really wanted to have more fun, but, unfortunately, she couldn't. There is no time for that. Heimdall was furious, and the girl thought that it was time to hurry to that place and also come up with a countermeasure against a person who could attack at any moment. Syrinx noted that the boy's legs were fine so he could follow her, to which Heimdall smiled and replied that the girl first tied him up and then made him go. He feels that they are actually made for each other. Then the boy noticed that the girl had already used this spell on him, and it seems to him that her spell takes some time to work. Syrinx did not understand what he was talking about. And then she thought, did the guy attack her on purpose to learn more about her abilities? That's crazy! Heimdall continued his sarcasm. He said that he is not so bad with her even on the street. To which the girl replied, if he is so well, then can he remain lying on the ground like this until the end of his days? The guy stood up and admitted that he was just experimenting. Syrinx questioned and said that he really did not feel sorry for his body. Heimdall added that it was strong and so easy to break. The girl called him after her. She herself thought that he was just pretending that it was normal to treat himself as a tool. In any case, he will not do anything to her as long as he is tied up. Finally, the couple reached the right place. Syrinx pondered which room to give Heimdall. Perhaps the pantry. The guy asked what the girl's true essence is. In addition to the fact that she knows very influential people, she also has the ability to distinguish a fake from an original. Besides, he had heard of jewelers who could put magic on precious stones. But he sees for the first time that someone heals with their help. The girl decided that she would really put him in the pantry. Syrinx asked with a smile, why should the boy not recover first, and only then ask her such questions? Heimdall also asked, wouldn't she be in danger if he recovered? The girl replied that he could try if he wanted to be pinned to the floor and tied up, or she could just tame him. Heimdall smiled and noticed how charmingly the girl spoke about it. Syrinx replied that he has a face that makes you want to punch him. The guy smiled and added that she should not exaggerate. Then he turned and went inside the house. He told her to think, and lying down on a bench in the dining room, he added that he sincerely offered her to buy him. Syrinx, on the other hand, began to climb the stairs and told the boy what to do because she does not eat spoiled food. Heimdall asked again with a sly smile what she meant. Once in the room, Syrinx still heard Heimdall's phrase from behind the door. Is she sure she won't change her mind? The girl just noticed the guy's insistence. She looked around the room. It was very dirty. The girl noted that it looked like Lintella's human was here. But the main thing is that there is a bed. And for that, thank you. Syrinx noticed something. There were postcards with portraits of people on the table near the flashlight. The girl decided that it must be wanted, that these are portraits of criminals by which bounty hunters then look for them. The girl drilled those cards with her eyes for a few more minutes. She wanted to clean up and go to sleep peacefully. As a result, Syrinx sat looking at the portraits, and then one by one, she threw them into the trash. She noted that the painted portraits were not very good, that no one would find them. The girl remembered that she once had a cute neighbor who turned out to be a wanted criminal. But the reward for him was so small that none of the knights wanted to catch him. As her fourth patient, who is known for corruption, once said, "Some pay for someone to deliberately paint a bad portrait so that no one finds the criminal. Therefore, bounty hunters need to overcome a very extensive work to find criminals." And then Syrinx noticed something quite familiar among the portraits. She looked at the postcards and realized what was there. The official seal of the Altar of Discipline. Special criminal. The reward is paid by the Holy See. Contributions can be made to the Marquis Fossetti or to the nearest church. Gold reward for any information. This document is a stigma, because of which a person became an exile for the rest of his life. The document referred to a woman, approximately 24 years old, good-looking, good at healing spells, and a living member of the Aiden family. This is a family that used gems instead of the source of their powers. It is for this reason that the Altar of Discipline decided to exterminate all members of this family. This family has been branded criminals, as the Altar of Discipline has a power that can only be compared to that of the Imperial family. Syrinx was furious. With a creepy smile, she concluded that this is what it looks like. The day the Altar of Discipline declared them heretics, the entire Syrinx family perished at the altar's hands. Although, in fact, Vivtar just wanted to get the same abilities that were in the Arden family. All members of the Aiden family died of unknown causes, and only one survivor remained. Amazingly, only one person managed to survive in that bloody carnage. She survived only because she simply didn't know how to use the family's abilities. And that person was Syrinx. But besides the girl, there was another person there. The young man said that he was the one who reported on the Syrinx family. Wasn't her family heretics? But he asked that she be kept alive because she was dear to him. Now she will not belong to the Arden family. This young man added that the girl should not worry that everything would remain the same for her. After all, she is his childhood friend and future bride, who will be helped by his parents. And with a smile, he said her name. It was the main male character of the first part of the novel, Sir Ivan Fossetti. After that, the head of the altar, as well as the bishop of the church, who killed the girl's family, took her to Duke Adverse, who adopted her. The bishop introduced the girl to her and said that she was now her younger sister, and her name was Frey. Sister, in the name of Frey. And then Syrinx realized that this was the first part of a book she'd once read. The girl turned out to be the main character of the first part of the novel, who was to die soon. It was still night. Syrinx woke up and got out of bed. Holding her head, she decided that because of her fatigue, she dreamed about her past. The girl had a headache. Syrinx heard words calling to her and asking her to run away. The second part of the novel will tell about the second main character, Frey, and about the main male character, her brother. Like Syrinx, her younger cousin also lost her family and was adopted by the Duke. And they had Dante, who lost an eye when he once again protected them from his father. These two people felt the same as Syrinx. They needed to escape. In the original version of the novel, Syrinx was constantly poisoned with poison in the Duke's family, after which she transferred her power to her sister and died. This is how the story of Syrinx ended. But now the girl was alive. However, she was immediately sought after as she was the only survivor who possessed such a powerful healing power. After all, Syrinx was able to hide from all pursuers and settled in a place where lawlessness rules. The girl began to search for information about the poison that was still poisoning her. And the girl's goal was to find a precious stone that could fulfill her cherished dream. Syrinx kept reminding Frey and Dante. It was difficult for her. The girl could not leave her sister and brother to those who abused them since childhood. She hoped that soon she would be able to change everything. After all, now the girl could use the power that passed to her as an inheritance. The girl got up from the bed. She noticed a torn piece of paper under the table. Syrinx became curious as to why it was torn and began to pile it up. Although the message was encrypted, the girl knew the secret code. It was said there. It must be found. Syrinx smiled because finding her was not so easy, because everything the girl did before that was a lie. She herself, and even her name. Everyone around saw the girl differently. Some are brown-haired with blue eyes, some are blonde with green eyes, and some are black. That is why the pursuers cannot catch her. No one will be able to find Syrinx unless he personally comes for it. Suddenly, there was a very loud crash. Syrinx snapped out of her thoughts. She was scared and thought that someone else had come to spend the night here. The girl approached the door, her hands shaking. She didn't think Lintella would allow anyone else to come here. Syrinx told herself to calm down, that it was all because of that dream. And she went down the stairs to the first floor with fear. Descending, the girl looked around. Here Heimdall asked why the girl couldn't sleep. He stood by the window and basked in the moonlight. Syrinx asked if he heard any strange sound. The guy replied that he didn't hear anything, and added that it is possible that this girl is hallucinating. Heimdall looked at the girl and noted that it was late at night, and the girl was worried about the pursuers, so she began to listen to something that was not really there. Then the guy emphasized that his physical capabilities are much higher than hers. Is that why she tied him up? He then walked over to Syrinx, took her hands, and told her to calm down. She will be safe tonight because he is here. That no one will disturb her, so she can go and rest. Heimdall gently took the girl by the ear and added that he would like to give her some advice. He said she shouldn't show herself like that if she didn't want to get caught. And the guy flirtatiously asked, maybe the girl wants him to sleep with her? And then he added that if the girl wanted, he would stroke her back until she fell asleep. He can arrange that. Syrinx was amazed at such impudence. She became annoyed and refused Heimdall's offers. He smiled and replied that he was very sorry. Syrinx turned and went back to her room. The boy wished her good night. The girl returned to the room and got into bed. She thought over Heimdall's words that she could relax, that she would be safe tonight because he was here. Syrinx couldn't believe that this man could comfort her, and she turned on her side and began to fall asleep. Heimdall only decided to kill Frey because of her parents' misdeeds. Aunt and Uncle Syrinx were to blame for everything. After getting rid of Heimdall's parents, they decided to sell the boy and his brother to slave traders. In the end, Heimdall's brother died. Heimdall was completely alone in this cruel world. It was after this that his personality split. One personality is a reserved, intelligent, and mature man, and the second is a man mired in madness and thirst for revenge. After all, he was a true thief, and Syrinx didn't think he could be justified in any way, but the feeling that the girl felt towards the person who was able to comfort her was very similar to the feeling of unity. The morning came, and something rattled in the house. Syrinx went down, and already thought that the thief who raised this commotion had gotten to them. In fact, she saw a completely different picture downstairs and asked the boy if he was hurt. It was daytime, Heimdall. He was very upset that he broke the plate, but Syrinx was most stunned by his outfit. A pink apron worn over his bare torso. The girl told him not to worry because this is not her house. Heimdall was surprised and asked where they were. Syrinx walked around the kitchen and began to take something from the shelf. Then she turned to the boy and asked him not to move. Heimdall blushed and closed his eyes and added that the girl was too close. And Syrinx just put glasses on him at that time. The girl asked if he was looking for this. The guy replied that it was. She asked if it was some kind of treasure hunting game they had. Heimdall said yes, sometimes that happens. At night, he leaves no scraps of paper where something is hidden. The girl sympathized with him. Syrinx believed that for Heimdall, it was more than just glasses. With their help, he separates one personality from another. With the help of glasses, Daytime Heimdall shows that he will not nurse what crazy Heimdall nurses at night. That's why he takes glasses so seriously. Syrinx, looking at the boy, asked, "What about his clothes?" And Heimdall was covered in red paint. He was very ashamed. He explained that when he woke up, he saw that all his clothes were torn, so he decided to put something on. And then I decided to cook something. Everything became clear to the girl. She remembered that indeed Heimdall had already mentioned that he was a good cook. In addition, it seemed that by morning he had already completely recovered. And outwardly he looked normal. Heimdall then asked how it happened. Syrinx did not understand what he was talking about. Then the boy said that when he woke up, he immediately saw this. He raised his hand, which had magical shackles on it. Syrinx said nonchalantly that he was chained to her, and that he may not worry, other people do not see them. The girl added that she is not a pervert unlike him. The boy protested that he was not a pervert either. Then Syrinx noticed that he was not even surprised by the appearance of the chains, and was somehow too unmoved. Heimdall explained that he was already used to this, and that he had already accepted the whole situation. Syrinx looked at the boy. She felt sorry for him again. She then explained that the previous night he had broken a rule and attacked her. The guy sputtered. He excitedly began to ask how it attacked. What is she talking about? And the girl replied that he tried to knock her off her feet. It was clear that Heimdall was sorry and ashamed of himself, that he even bit his lip. The guy asked why the girl decided to take measures. Syrinx confirmed, because she couldn't beat him with a frying pan. Heimdall remarked that the girl had simply tied him up. And this is not enough punishment for him. The boy said that the girl could hit him. He won't say a word, and it seems that it is necessary to beat him more often. Syrinx asked him not to say that, because it was his body too, it would hurt. Heimdall insisted that he has no intention of hiding, that he does not remember his actions, that he will take full responsibility. The girl looked at the boy and emphasized that he likes to take responsibility. The boy replied that it was only with her. Then Heimdall asked, "What is the purpose of these chains?" Syrinx smiled and replied that it was a guarantee of her protection from him. The girl thought that people like her could only protect themselves with spells and magic. A spell won't work forever, but it's a very effective means of keeping someone under control for a set amount of time. When he tries to attack her again, he will immediately find himself in chains. Syrinx explained to Heimdall that it might not be very convenient for him, but for her, it's just perfect. For example, the girl ordered to come closer. And at that very moment, the chains whirled around the boy. And the next moment, Heimdall was already bent over the Syrinx. Syrinx said that's right, she can control him. Sweat ran down the boy's face. The girl noticed this and smiled slyly. Syrinx leaned Heimdall as close to her as possible. He was red and nervous. The boy said that if their lips touched, he would not take responsibility. The girl brought her lips to Heimdall's trembling lips, and Syrinx said quietly that she thought she was the one to take charge. And then, with the words that she was joking, she jumped out from under the guy hanging over her. Heimdall was stunned by such an awkward situation. Syrinx added that in any case, he would have to suffer and get used to it. And in a month, they will see what to do next. The girl asked the boy to think of it as an insurance policy for her, and instead, she would treat him. In fact, when Heimdall asked to treat him, he said it would take 2 months. Only 2 months, and the second part of the novel will begin. And at this moment, Heimdall will gain enormous power. After that, he has to face Syrinx's nice father Duke Adverse and her fiancée Asia. Surely the girl will support him at this moment. Since Syrinx wanted those two people to die as soon as possible, she wasn't going to stop Heimdall. And while they are all fighting, the girl will escape with Frey. After all, even if there is no Frey, these three will still face each other. Heimdall craves power, and Duke Adverse and the Aesir are not going to share it. And most importantly, Syrinx was supposed to die in the first part of the novel, but she was still alive. However, now she did not know what future awaited them. Syrinx told Heimdall that she was hungry and offered to start with something to eat. She went to the kitchen, but the boy asked her to wait. He knelt before Syrinx and asked if he was now her property. The girl looked at Heimdall in surprise and asked if he really thought that she would force him to do something. Heimdall sheepishly exclaimed that no, he didn't think so. Syrinx was quick to reassure the boy that she wouldn't do that to him until he attacked her. The girl explained that she is one of those people who does not like to take away another person's freedom. She touched the boy's magical shackles. Syrinx added that she also went through something similar, so she doesn't like it when others suffer. The girl remembered that in the first part of the novel, she experienced a lot of cruelty and insults, but her sister and brother still feel it. Syrinx said that she did not understand why she was telling the boy all this. The girl explained that she really didn't want to treat Heimdall that way, but at night, he simply didn't leave her a choice. Syrinx asked Heimdall not to think about anything now, and just focus on his recovery. The girl noted that, looking at the way the boy tore up the sofa, he probably had wounds. Heimdall said sheepishly that it was true. Syrinx said with a smile that it wasn't her fault he got hurt, but he should let her heal him. Heimdall looked at the girl in surprise. The boy excitedly asked if everything would be okay with the girl. Syrinx, surprised at such a question, sighed and said that everything will be fine, because this is her job. The girl explained that from time to time she treats someone that he was not her only patient. About herself, she noted that only he constantly returns to her for treatment. The guy asked again if he was the only one. Syrinx asked what was so important to him. Heimdall was silent, and the girl did not understand what he meant. Syrinx said they've taken care of that. And she remarked, wasn't the boy interested to know what happened yesterday? She offered to eat and then discuss everything. Heimdall picked himself up and went to the kitchen, saying that he would do everything now. At the same time, the boy flashed his pumped-up muscles from under his apron. The boy returned to the girl and said that he's good at cooking. From such a picture of shining muscles, Syrinx did not know where to turn her eyes. A new fine day has come in the city. Over breakfast, the girl noted that despite the fact that the boy woke up in an unfamiliar place, he looked completely relaxed. It seems that for him, it was already commonplace. Heimdall said it was because she brought him to the home of someone she trusted. Syrinx did not understand. She asked herself why he was taking everything for granted. And do the night and day Heimdall really not remember each other's memories? The girl asked how he found out that she had brought him here. The guy replied that he felt her presence in the house, and added that precisely because of this, he decided to prepare something for her. And then it reached Syrinx. She was stunned, and she asked what it meant that he felt her presence. Heimdall shyly answered that he had developed such an ability a little. Syrinx was amazed, and this fact did not please her. Countless times she trained to escape from her nice father and Aesir, and the only thing she was sure of was her ability to hide her presence. It came as a shock to Syrinx to learn that this man could sense her presence because he was strong and insane. Proof of this was his abuse of Frey. But the girl hoped that this time it would not happen. After all, she could not just watch it. Syrinx asked Heimdall why he decided she was worth his trust. The boy explained that he was so glad when she didn't leave him near her house, even though he knew how dangerous it could be for her. Here the girl remembered how she treated Heimdall. Syrinx looked at the boy and asked if it was really because of this. He smiled with a blush on his face. The girl laughed and said that despite the fact that she is a person who loves money very much, she is not one of those who ignores her customers. Did Heimdall not understand what Syrinx was talking about? The girl finished eating. Getting up from the table, she added that he could become her client in the future. Syrinx then flattered Heimdall with the words, "Does her favorite client have a lot of money?" "Did he think about buying himself precious stones?" the guy yelled. Then the girl gently touched his shoulder. She said she could give him a discount. Heimdall's jaw dropped at such flirtation. The guy turned all red like a cancer. He was very attached to the word dear. Syrinx laughed and asked what thoughts came to him when he heard that word. Heimdall was very embarrassed. The girl fixed his hair. Syrinx asked if he was getting used to her now that they were closer together. And leaning towards Heimdall in the shelter, the girl added, "And is he getting used to her face?" The boy was so embarrassed that his breakfast flew to the floor along with the dishes. Syrinx thought he was very cute. The girl noted that if Lintella asks to compensate for everything, then she can, at any moment, offer her this man. A little later, Syrinx and Heimdall went to the city. They approached one of the houses, and the boy asked what kind of place it was. Syrinx replied that it was her shop, but the girl could not open the lock. Heimdall offered his help. The guy also couldn't handle the lock, but at some point he just broke the door. The couple entered the shop. After breakfast, they decided to get down to business. They could have stayed in hiding for a few more days, but there was simply no time for that. Heimdall said he thought the girl's shop was in her house. The girl explained that everything is true. It's just that this is her second store and it's about the same size. The boy was delighted. Syrinx thought about herself that for 3 years she had a very good business here, and she would have stayed if not for the persecution. Heimdall asked, "If the girl reopens this shop, how will the old customers find her?" The girl told him not to worry. They will somehow find it themselves. This is her field of activity. Syrinx ran her finger across the table. It was full of dust. The girl thought that it would be worth cleaning here. Syrinx told the boy that if a person buys precious stones, it means that he has money. Therefore, it is easier for such people to simply find information that, moreover, can gild them. The girl turned to Heimdall and asked him not to move. She was going to show him all her power. The boy was surprised. Syrinx used a magic. A multicolored glow flashed, which gradually filled the room. From everywhere in the shop, precious stones began to rise into the air, and they also shone. Heimdall was stunned by what he saw. Syrinx held out her palm with the crimson stone. The girl uttered a spell, and the stone shone the brightest of all. Everything quieted down. Heimdall looked around. The store was clean and tidy, not a single speck of dust. The guy asked the girl if she just cleaned here. Syrinx replied that she simply turned everything back in time. Now she needed to find a clean and raw stone. The girl took the necessary item from the chest. Heimdall asked, "What stone exactly?" The girl said that the pearl. And she showed that she had already found the right one and added that when the stone is big, it is not so beautiful. The guy asked what she wanted to do with her. Syrinx replied, to bring her back. There is a saying in Crixus Lane, at any moment you need to be ready for betrayal. As soon as you feel someone's hand on the back of your head, immediately grab that hand and then cut it off. Syrinx added that if it weren't for this rule, her body would have been swept away by the Umpta River long ago. This helped with the blessing of darkness, ambushing her and the knights raiding her shop last night. But now, they will look for her even more carefully, especially Torch's claws, with which she will return this stolen thing. Soon, they get what they deserve. Syrinx turned to a guy named Heimdall. He was stunned by the fact that the girl knew his name. The girl smiled. She thought to herself that she had actually called him by his name for the first time. Syrinx asked the boy if he wanted to hurt the people who hurt them. Heimdall froze. He clarified whether she meant revenge. The girl replied that it can be called that. Syrinx held out her hand to Heimdall and asked if he was with her. The girl asked if he would help her. Heimdall agreed. Grabbing the blush, he added that he would do everything so that she would not ask him, and added that she could even use his body. The girl noted that this is already unnecessary. Syrinx thought that one way or another, the second part of the novel was not far off. And this meant that Heimdall would soon gain incredible power. She knew that Heimdall's revenge would begin with the betrayal of his mentor. At the beginning of the second part, it was told how Heimdall gradually gained unreal strength. Syrinx decided she would deal with that later. The girl turned to the boy and said that since the situation was urgent, she would use his help. Pointing to the pile of documents, the girl explained that there are all the records about the precious stones received from last year, and since she did not systematize anything, he will have a lot of work. Syrinx reasoned that the pursuers were very organized and, moreover, there were many of them. Therefore, while they are under the protection of Lintella, it is necessary to do everything as soon as possible. And Heimdall has already started looking through the documents. There was all the information about gem exchanges in the auction houses of Crixus. Syrinx gathered all this information thanks to connections and money. After looking through several documents, the guy said that he could systematize all the information she needed. The girl was satisfied. What was expected from this intelligent man? Syrinx only asked the boy to write more legibly. Heimdall was just beaming at this opportunity to help Syrinx, and she herself decided to start. Syrinx sat at the table working with precious stones. She made 2 identical ornaments. These were low-level fakes. It was necessary to be very careful. After all, when the girl reaches the goal, no one can guess anything. Heimdall came and asked if the girl had finished yet. Syrinx, stretching her tired neck, apologized that he had to wait for her for a long time. He replied that everything is fine. It seemed to the boy that she was very enthusiastic. He brought the documents with him, which he placed on the table, and he himself sat down on the sofa next to him. Heimdall, a little confused, said that he had heard of people being treated with precious stones, but as far as he knew, this was a very rare occurrence. Syrinx smiled. She understood that he knew that she had such abilities. The girl sat down on the sofa next to the boy. She explained that this is not so rare. It's just that all these people are hiding behind the altar of discipline. Syrinx didn't care that someone might find out that she was a jeweler. She didn't just want anyone to know her name, looks, and abilities. Heimdall proudly handed the scroll to the girl. He systematized all the information for her. Syrinx was amazed. The guy wrote everything very clearly. It was a good job. After rolling up the scroll, the girl informed Heimdall that she was going to sell Aslot's tears on the black market. The guy tensed up. He asked that by the black market, she meant the market in the first district? The girl confirmed that it was so. Black market is one of the names of the auction house. Unlike normal auction houses, the black market was sponsored by loan sharks and murderers. In such places, swindlers play for money and nobles sell and buy slaves. And today, the auction will be held, which takes place only twice a month. Syrinx asked that since Lintella had given them false IDs, could they be going to the auction? The boy said that now he understood why she asked for fake IDs. The girl answered that it was so. And if her guess is correct, then the jewels on the list are expertly crafted fakes. Heimdall asked how she knew about it. Syrinx happily replied that she had managed to learn something during her business trip. And also, some of these forgeries were made directly by her. The girl got up from the sofa and went to the wardrobe. She noted that if she did everything herself, she would not have enough time. Syrinx turned to the boy and thanked him for his help. Trying to open the wardrobe, the girl said that if everything goes according to plan, they will be able to sell that jewel. And the moment she shows that jewel to people, they will go crazy. Sitting on the sofa to the voice of the girl, Heimdall began to fall asleep. The girl did not notice this and continued to say that the price would be so high that it would break all auction records. She was finally able to open the wardrobe, which was filled with dresses, suits, wigs, and other things. Syrinx turned to the boy, saying that from now on, it was up to him to decide whether to follow her or not. She explained as the game they were going to play tonight was going to be very dangerous. The girl added that if this precious stone is sold today for a good price, then they will be able to take a beautiful revenge on those people, since they will be arrested later because of this jewel. In addition, the Count's family wants to receive this necklace before the imperial family. And if they find out that the jewel is actually a fake, then you should not expect mercy from them. These people will never see the light of day. They will feel the torture of the imperial prison. Syrinx then added with rage in her voice that after this, she would definitely take revenge on Duke Adverse and Ieza, who had lost her family. Behind her, the girl heard soft laughter. It was the Heimdall of the night. While wearing glasses, he asked how he looked to her and whether he liked her. Syrinx was a little scared. She did not notice when he managed to change. With a serious expression on her face, the girl asked the boy not to do that again. He just smiled and asked what he did. The girl asked to be warned that he was going to change. Heimdall replied that she could figure it out herself. Syrinx asked if he could pretend to be a normal person at least once. The boy replied that there was nothing he could not handle. Taking off his glasses and slightly unbuttoning his shirt, Heimdall asked what she considered his daytime man to be like a normal person. So what does being a normal person mean to her? The guy noted that the girl missed something from the very beginning. Syrinx asked, what exactly? Heimdall said that all crazy people were once normal, and the crazier a person is, the better they are at pretending to be normal. And smiling, he added, as he does. The girl snorted displeasedly and asked what kind of delusion it was. Syrinx said they had to go. They didn't have much time. Nocturnal Heimdall wondered where they were going. The girl opened the chest with gold and jewels and asked why he pretended not to know. After all, he himself heard everything. She asked if he was coming with her. If not, he can go. At this time, the boy opened the scroll and asked if it was his handwriting. Isn't he too lethargic? But it is clear that he tried very hard for the sake of the girl. Syrinx said irritably that he wasn't the one helping her. Then Heimdall asked the girl what it was. It looks like a safe. Syrinx asked if he really wanted to rob her. She noted that he couldn't do anything because he needed her hand to open the safe. The safe responds to her fingerprints. Heimdall was very interested. Did he make the assumption that the safe could be opened by cutting off the girl's hand? She angrily warned that she would kick him out. The guy just smiled. Syrinx searched for something in the safe for a long time and finally found it. She knew that this thing would play a decisive role in their case. She threw the clothes to Heimdall and asked him to get dressed. The girl also put on a cloak with a hood and turned to the boy and said that now they can go. It's time to teach everyone a lesson. They were standing by the wall of one of the houses. Syrinx tried to feel something. She had not been here for a long time and did not know if she would make it. Suddenly, she found what she was looking for and everything worked out. The girl knew that in the passageways between the rooms there are wizards detectors who can easily reveal disguises. So of course they could use disguise, but then they would have to use something else when entering the room. Syrinx knew where the secret passage was in the wall. She held up the precious stone and uttered the spell. The passage opened. Heimdall watched the girl with interest. She asked him to come in quickly. The guy asked if this precious stone serves as a key for her. The girl replied that it was a trade secret. Then she asked if he was sad that she had her secrets. Heimdall said no. Syrinx then said that this stone was similar to his glasses. Despite the fact that the boy has good eyesight, he still carries them with him. Then the girl asked if he wanted to hear something interesting. She said that everything was simple with that door, but if they make a mistake here even once, it's the end of them. Syrinx noted that they had entered a secret passage. The girl stood in front of the endless winding stairs leading up. Heimdall was amazed by what he saw. The girl said that they are surrounded by dishonest people everywhere, and this secret passage is proof of that. Syrinx said that the road to the auction house bordered the most depraved area, and due to the strictest surveillance, it was actually very difficult to get into the auction house, and many wealthy people do not want to take risks one more time. The girl took out a precious stone and applied magic to it. She went on to say that due to such close supervision, the people went so far as to hire a wizard to create a secret passage. Syrinx said that with this entrance, they can enter the auction house for free, although it is not completely safe. Heimdall asked if there were any pitfalls. The girl patted him on the bottom with a smile like a mother and praised how smart he was. Syrinx said that actually these stairs are not real. They are made of magic. All the girl can do here is to change the color of the stairs to purple. Everything else is an illusion. Returning to the boy, she noted that as soon as he stepped on the step, she would disappear at the same moment. Heimdall looked at her and asked if there were any other pitfalls. The girl replied that only this. They stood and looked at the stairs. Syrinx admitted that she is not very strong in such things. She thought to herself that if she was alone, she would have used her abilities long ago and gotten out of here. Syrinx put Heimdall's hand on her waist and told him that he would have to try a little harder today. She also put her arms around the boy's waist and pointing her finger at the stairs, she told him, "Follow her." The guy didn't understand. Syrinx thought that she would have to repay the boy with food a little later. The girl learned about this route thanks to her fourth patient, who was an elite knight. She was so drunk that she couldn't go alone. Syrinx will use this route for the second time today. Last time she was carrying a carcass, but this time the going is much easier. That time it was difficult to walk and drag a drunken carcass. The girl then went away from it for 10 days. Sure, she can use gems to fly, but flying is very difficult for her. Syrinx, pointing to Heimdall on the stairs, explained that they should go only where there is purple color, and there will be a door at the end. The guy asked, "How do other people get there?" The girl irritably explained that the others were bringing the wizard with them and flying with him. Heimdall looked closely at the winding stairs. He said that everything is clear. The next moment he picked up the girl in his arms. Syrinx screamed in fear as to what he was doing. And the guy asked with a smile, "Is it better that way?" The girl displeasedly asked why he was smiling. Heimdall replied that he just liked everything very much. With an amused look, the boy explained that the girl's life now depended on him. Syrinx only wondered how a person could be like that. Holding the girl in his arms, Heimdall easily began to climb the winding stairs, stepping only where the color was purple. Syrinx was amazed. She had a question: how strong is he? Heimdall seemed to soar. These were simply incredible abilities. She thought about the fact that the second part of the novel had not yet begun, and it was already so strong. Then, what should be next? The girl remembered that inside the novel it was mentioned that the power of this man would go beyond all human limits. Perhaps he has already acquired this power. Heimdall stopped. Syrinx hissed in his ear that he should just try to swallow some stupidity. The guy slyly asked if she was scared. The girl was offended. She is constantly going through a lot. And he created all kinds of nonsense when he was bored. And then the girl felt weightlessness. Syrinx realized they were starting to fall. She began to call out to Heimdall because there was only an endless abyss below. If they fell, it would be the end of them. Frightened, she called the boy once more. Suddenly, the guy hugged the girl tighter and straightened up. Looking into her eyes, he asked, "What happened?" And did she call him? Syrinx looked around. She could not understand what had happened and why they did not fall. Heimdall smiled slyly and wondered if the girl thought they would fall. The guy said he just wanted to see her scared. The girl giggled nervously. She decided that he was just mocking her.